The Nicole Sandler Show, weekday mornings at 10 on the South Florida Radio Network. This is the South Florida Radio Network.
Neil Rogers God.
News Talk Radio, 610 WIOD presents the Neil Rogers Show. The opinions expressed by the guests, hosts, or callers are not necessarily those of this station. Now, here's Neil Rogers on News Talk Radio, 610 WIOD.
Hi, this is Sonny Fox. I listen to Neil Rogers because I can hear the word asshole.
12:06 at WIOD. We have a nice lady in Sarasota. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Do you have to use that vulgar language on TV, on radio?
Yes.
Why?
Because I feel like it. It's not, we don't use any vulgar language, ma'am.
That is absolutely sick.
What?
And I want to tell you something.
Well, you're going to tell me something?
For your information, us
Yes.
yahoos don't use language like that.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do. You've heard it all.
Can I ask you something?
Can I ask you something?
Can I ask you something?
Well, how about if I ask you something first?
I
so we have
made
a
the
little
call.
dialogue.
I want to ask you something.
Oh, and so in other words, when you make the call, it's like a one-way conversation? My polite lady friend? How about if I ask you a question?
All right, ask me.
How long have you been listening this morning?
All morning.
Well, why all morning? Well, how come you have...
Well,
wait a minute. Let's have a conversation, okay? Let's try. Now, if you're so offended, why haven't you shut it off yet?
Well, because I wanted to really be sure, and I decided to make this call, and this is going to be it.
Be sure of what?
Let me ask you something.
Well, in other words, after the call, you're going to turn it off?
Let me ask you something.
Are you going to turn it off? Oh! Did that bitch hang up? I mean, did that nice lady in Sarasota hang up? We seem to be hung up on Sarasota. Now, as I recall, when I worked there back in 1973, there were like 2 or 3 people there with an IQ bigger than their shoe size. But they're probably all dead by now, huh? Or close to it. She sounds like she's getting real close.
I was riding on a train to Austin, Texas. Oh, when a very lovely lady sat next to me. When she got up to eat, she asked if I would hold her sight. I was more than happy to, and now there's more I'd like to do. I want to kiss her, but she won't let me.
our chief engineer was telling me that SUN signal goes up across the Gulf, all the way up into Tallahassee. He said in the middle of the day, you can, like a local, it just booms in there. So if the governor is listening, man, the Prozac supply's in the mail. God, can you imagine? Talk about nose pickers in Tallahassee, in the Panhandle. God!
Hello. My name is Elvis. Only you, Neil Rogers, all new song, 620, Neil Rogers, new song 620, WSUN. It on 10 to 2 weekdays right here, tune it in.
The old Elvis and the young Elvis.
Well, that's
Then they'd
true.
satisfy all these Elvis people out there who just can't get enough of the king, right?
Well,
Why don't they come out with an Elvis Presley pizza with his face on top of it with a big pepperoni up his nose? How would that be?
But
Tune in, you'll be the only one. I turn on me, I don't know what he's done. Only Rogers, only you, Rogers, only you, from 10 to 2.
Wow, 12:07. Nice one. Nice little segment there, Boca Brian. SoFloRadio.com. Jorge Rodriguez, Boca Brian. Monica's here. Suds will be along shortly.
Feliz Año Novo.
Oh, thank you. Año Novo. Is that was that Italian?
No, it's Portuguese.
Oh. I thought.
What it means is
Where's Suds?
Yeah. Suds will be along, getting some responses from people. That I've been like stalking people, hounding people to be on this thing. Not that I have to talk them into it once I get a hold of them. That's the challenge there, is getting a hold of them. And wow, Happy New Year, everybody. Wow. Brian and I are both spent. We're both spent over here. I don't even know where to start. We're working feverishly towards, on the tribute that we've been, doing for the past, this is going to be like 3 weeks now, then?
Yeah.
Solid, Neil Vigil / Tribute Radio.
I'd say about a month. It was before.
Okay,
Christmas
yeah.
Eve.
We started working up on it, but I would say 3 solid weeks where that's all we were doing, where we pretty much faded out all the guests. And then the next week after the Neil service, because this is what we were waiting for, was the Neil service, and it timed out just right. It's working out right with the number of guests and everybody getting as much time as they want to talk. Still a lot of people that we haven't heard from yet that I can't get a hold of. I still have no answer on Marvin, which is that kind of bothers me because Marvin isn't like a minor character. Like I got an email from someone, I forget who, please forgive me. There's a lot going on in my head right now, and I've got this cold going on, and we'll get into more detail about that later. Man, what a blur of a weekend with all the stuff that we're doing over here and the sick wife that I have to cover for. Everybody's sick. She's very sick. Got to just leave right after the show and go home and tag off with my daughter so she can go to work. Blah, blah, boring stuff. It bothers me because what the emailer said, hey, what about Chris Baker? Yeah, what about Chris Baker? So we got one drop from Chris Baker. Neil talked to him briefly. I don't know if Chris Baker and Neil were ever in the same room. Do you recall?
No.
Right?
No.
And by the way, Shecky's more than invited to call. I mean, if we can listen to Rich Pachter, Shecky was actually on that radio station at the same time as Neil for, 5 minutes there? What did he do, a show and a half?
Well, he did a couple of months of shows. He was on the weekend.
Like I said, 5 minutes. He did 3 shows.
But in defense of Pachter, though, because I was looking at that Randy video.
Yes.
If you recall, and he wouldn't say it. This is what bugs me.
About Pachter?
He worked for A&M Records.
Right.
All the bands that Randy got in her show, she had Foreigner in there.
Right. I asked him to justify his existence, and he's like, I don't know. I look like Art Garfunkel. That's all he's got to say about it.
Never heard of A&M.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, yeah, call back. And, but Marvin was not a minor player. Marvin was Neil's producer before me, and then he was Rick and Suds' producer, and he was Danger Boy. He was, Idiot on the Corner and the Payphone Challenge and everything. Marvin was not a small player in the life of Neil Rogers, and I'm amazed. I heard from one person that said that he might not be well or alive. And I don't want to start rumors.
Wasn't he about the same age as you?
Yeah. Actually, I think he's younger. That's what cigarettes will do to you, Boca Brian.
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes!
He sounded like he's never heard of it before.
Guaranteed to kill you. You know, like rat poison.
I'm going to call you Cleo, Boca.
I didn't know Marvin smoked.
Are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. Notoriously.
Okay.
Cigarettes. Guaranteed to kill you every time. 100% success rate of killing you. Cigarettes. They will. And that's the last I heard. I don't want to start any rumors or anything, but that's a rumor. The last person that talked to me about that sent me a message on MySpace or Facebook. I'm still saying MySpace. How old? How 5 minutes ago? Last person that sent me a message said that they heard that Marvin was in poor health and had gotten some kind of a lung cancer from cigarettes. And that's all the last that they knew. And he's not answering it. By the way, Marvin has had the same cell phone number since cell phones were invented. And the number you've called is not in service, which has never happened before. And I sent an email to the last known email address that both I and the person that contacted me had for Marvin, and no response. Also no response from my email to Henry Barrow, Gary Bruce. And I can't remember, because I've got a lot going on. You can't blame the weed on this. I haven't had time to smoke lately. I've just had too much going on, and the cold and the time, and I'm not sleeping because I'm up all night. And oh, Jesus.
Barrow I find surprising.
He might not be. Well, I only have the Facebook contact for Henry Barrow.
Right.
And I was emailing. I mean, I know he used it before, but maybe he's. This time of year, everybody's off on vacation.
True.
And Hank Barrow, Henry Barrow, who knows where he is? He might be over in California, he's cruising a vineyard or something. Who the hell knows?
Well, we know where Tom Hopkins is.
Do we?
Yeah, didn't he say he was going to the jungles of Borneo? He might have got lost.
Yeah, that's right. He hung with the headhunters down there. He wanted to hang with the cannibals. I envy that.
I saw him on the Randy video, which, by the way, is back on DVD. And I forgot what a funny guy Tom Hopkins was. He's one of those guys that's hilarious and doesn't realize.
He was a very funny guy, funny without trying. Tom Hopkins, great voice. I don't know. I'll wait till he talks to us to start on his secrets, busting out with all the Tom Hopkins secrets. I'll wait till we get what we want from these people, and then I'll embarrass them with all the inside information that we all know about each other's lives.
Oh, he won't care.
No, he won't care at all. But the Marvin thing disturbs me. I would be very disturbed if I found out that he were not around anymore. How could that have happened and nobody know? This is not a piker. This is someone who is a known name. And then maybe Defo knows. We're going to have Defo on with us later.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Well, Defo is going to be on with us later.
Okay.
Scott Ferrall will be on with us first. 12:40, by the way, for you people. Set your clocks and call your friends. If you don't know about Scott Ferrall, if you've never heard of Scott Ferrall, if you've never heard Scott Ferrall, please join us at 12:40 for the Ferrall Experience.
I got a model of 12-year-old doers in here. I'm going to work today.
Hey. The Ferrall Experience is it's a multimedia extravaganza. You kind of need smell-o-vision to appreciate Scott Ferrall. Whatever chart, whatever meter you use to measure Scott Ferrall, he pegs it. Mm-hmm. Whatever measuring device you're using, if it goes from 1 to 10, he's a 12.
And he's just as much fun to watch as he is to listen to.
And the amazing thing is people think, is that an act? And the answer is no. He, like most of us, tone it down considerably for the show. Or our lives would be destroyed. Beginning with our own. I have to keep telling people all the time. That's going to be my tag. I don't have to make things up. I keep things back. I'm holding back, and it takes a lot of effort. Like
no one believes it.
No one believes it.
That's
like my teeth are the bars of a cage, and all this material is back there. Like all these monsters trying to escape, and I have to hold them back, and they're straining against the bars. And if I slip, all this really awesome material would go spilling out. It would make for a hell of a show. And then I would, speaking of Borneo, have to call Tom Hopkins and ask him if there's room in the hut in Borneo, because that's where I would have to hide with the headhunters and the cannibals. I would paint myself black. I would cover myself in mud so as not to be found by the people whose lives would be destroyed, lest any of these material monsters go escaping out of there. Scott Ferrall, likewise. Scott Ferrall, I don't know. He has to be shot with a rhino dart just to get calmed down to the level where he can do a radio show.
We have a little drop of him here.
Yeah. He's a whirling dervish. He's the Tasmanian devil. He was the inspiration for the Tasmanian devil. Just spinning around out of control, destroying everything in his path, tearing a swath of destruction through any town that he's in. Scott Ferrall. He's got 2 settings. Unconscious and off the charts. That's Scott Ferrall.
What's great about him? Even if you hate sports like we do,
yeah,
he's entertaining.
Sports? Who cares what he? Oh, by the way, thank you. I think Luis must have posted that thing. In-depth analysis of the Dolphins season here on the Jorge Rodriguez Show. You ready for my in-depth analysis? They sucked again as usual. The end. I'm done. 7-9. They lost to New England. I think they did that just for Neil, because Neil liked New England. And so they lost 7-38 to New England. That was the last game. I kept It's still not as embarrassing as that other season with that lopsided score that looked like a basketball score. That's it. That's my Dolphin analysis.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Why don't you concern yourself with something that might have something to do with your actual life? If you're not a Dolphin and you don't own a Dolphin, what's it to you? Are you making less money today? Oh, well, I bet. Well, that's your stupid ass.
Well, it's time for the Shula update coming up.
Oh, yeah, very good. I don't know what the next segment that you've got going. I don't know what the next segment is that you have going, but I kind of want to come out at 12:40 instead of going into a break at 12:40 so that we can give Ferrall at least a full 20 minutes up to the 1 o'clock hour.
That's a good idea.
I've got calls in to many people. Stay tuned on Wednesday. I finally got an email back from Rick Shaw. I'm going to try to line him up for Wednesday. And Roger Magellan on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be the final blowout chance for the Neil Rogers tribute thing. That is not to say that in the following weeks, if we do finally hear from some of these people, I'll allow them to have their time. But my efforts, and Boca Brian's, our exhaustive efforts on these series of tribute shows is going to, culminate on Wednesday's show. And also on Wednesday's show, that's when I would like to invite, and then today also to an extent, invite the listeners to call in and share. And then, of course, Friday we have the memorial service, 3 o'clock. You see the information posted right there on SoFloRadio.com. I will be speaking, and Boca Brian, speaking of exhaustive efforts, spending no less than 100 hours and a month of Sundays on the tribute video that Norm asked us to produce. And when Norm asked us to produce it, and so I go, yes, hey, Boca Brian, your name is us. Well, you can't have. This is one of those things. It's like driving a car. 3 people can't do it. It just takes one good driver.
And no one does it better than Boca.
No one does production of any sort better than Boca. So he acquired the material. He gathered all of the material together, and he's going to be making a really nice, tight tribute video that we will be enjoying at the memorial service this Friday, and then afterwards the after party. And Monica asks me, are you ready for that? And I'm like, ready for what? The after party? With all the people? And she's like, well, I don't know what you said. All these people are going to be approaching you and talking to you? And I got chunks of audience appearances in my stool. I eat appearances for breakfast. That I can handle. What can't I handle? Well, I can handle it. That's okay. That's fun. I enjoy the meet and greet and the pressing of the flesh. Yes, even the stocky, goony types. Don't mind that at all. It's all this other stuff. On the phone and on the email, on the phone and on the email, and the computer at home crashed again. And I think you're right, Boca Brian, I got to clean it out. But I think the hard drive is just coughing up blood. I'd have to keep reformatting it. It just won't boot, and I can't get into my email at home, and I'm doing email on my phone, which sucks because I'm old and I need glasses, and I don't ever carry them around because I really don't need them. Back up. What?
Get a Mac.
Oh, no, everything is backed up. You don't understand, but you have to go through the system restore process. All of my data is on a separate hard drive. Absolutely. I'm not going to get my ass burned again. I'm talking about just getting it back up. Reinstalling the email. You got to go through the thing. Get a Mac, and then I'll be able to skip it to Bimini, to Borneo. I need a real computer that does real computer things and runs the software that Mac doesn't run. Although, tell you what, I'll get a Mac. I'll spend 3 times as much for the same amount of processing power and storage, and then I'll have somebody install an operating system on it that'll run the software that I need to run, like everything. So, yeah, that's what I did. And in between, I got to deal with the wife who's got some kind of throat infection thing. She can't just have a regular cold like me and Brian and Monica and everybody around us. We just have regular run-of-the-mill colds. Not my wife. No, she's got to take it up a notch. get some kind of a deathly thing. And she's in bad shape. Finally, this is vindication. You know, there's always a silver lining to this. We took the sign language class together, I guess, 3 years ago now. And I'm the only one that wanted to practice. I'm the only one that wanted to keep it going, hanging out with sign language interpreters. I'm the only one that kept it alive. And whenever I would try to practice with her, she'd be like, just talk to me. I don't feel like signing right now. You know, she can't talk. Her throat is so swollen, she can't croak a word out. So guess what she's trying to do? She's using sign language to the best of her memory. And I'm going... If you'd have practiced with me, I said, you don't even, you guys, you just suck.
What's the sign language for K?
What?
K?
Index finger across the palm of your hand. What? That's not the sign for that, so I had to give her the pen and the paper, and she scratches out the things, and I said, if you had practiced, and she can't talk back to me now. I said, if you had practiced with me all the times that I wanted us to practice together, because I actually enjoy it. It's not just a neat trick. It's very, very useful. If you had practiced with me, then you would be able to. You wouldn't have a problem right now. And she's like,
She just talks back this way.
Yes, I feel really bad for her, and it's just a lot. Everything's piling up. Everything's piling up on us. Mine, Boca Brian's lives. There's a lot of things going on where, you know, for the new year, we're revamping the whole SoFloRadio thing. A lot of emails and phone calls.
Oh, I want to extend gratitude for all the contributions from our emailing listening audience.
Yes, indeed. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Keep talking.
I mean, some real gems. That WSUN, I thought that was lost. I want to thank that email. I don't want to mention their names, but that emailer in particular.
Yes.
Jim Schuyler's been great. I mean, the Zeta stuff he's sending me.
Sure.
So, again, thanks a lot. I'll be using all of these, compiling an entire 3-hour show once again for Friday.
Right.
While we're at the memorial, for those of you who cannot be there, tune in at 12, and you'll hear another 3-hour show. Like the one I do.
Well, the memorial is 3, so everybody can enjoy the show while they're getting ready and driving to the memorial, and then the show ends and the memorial starts. Everybody can listen on their phone.
I'm saying for the listeners out of town that can't participate.
But speaking of the listeners who have been really wonderful contributing material, like you said, and a lot of people are sending pictures. A lot of people saved insiders, or they got pictures taken with Neil, or they took a picture of Neil, and I don't know who took a picture of me in the studio there at QAM, you know, when I still had hair.
Oh, I figured out why you looked so much better back then. It wasn't so much the hair.
Yeah?
You had the look of a man who had an income.
Ah, is that it? Oh.
You looked like you were paying your bills. And
I didn't start looking like this just last year, son. It's that second child.
Well,
that second child in marriage that did that.
It was gradual at first, and then it sped up like the last year.
Yeah.
But if you think it was the hair, you had a mullet, so no.
No. He's talking about afterwards. There were
just a regular hair.
I didn't have the mullet in the 90s.
No, but it was dark in the
early 90s. No, he's talking about QAM, which was just like 10 years ago. Those pictures of me with the mullet are from like 18 years ago, 20 years ago. Thereabouts, yeah. And I keep telling people, nobody wants to believe me. I had regular long 70s feathered hair when I came down here. And I really, 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 really liked my long hair. And I go in and I ask for a regular, a layer cut, and I walk out with a mullet. Now, my option was to cut the whole thing off, which is what I should have done, but my wife would not let me. She loved my long hair. When I finally did, against her wishes, cut my hair all short, I got screeched at. And he screeched, allow me to quote, "What the fuck did you do to your hair?" That's a quote. I'm not exaggerating. I'm using the exact words and inflection burned in my brain because I don't want to look ugly to my wife. And she hated it. Now, about a year later, I guess you look okay. After making me feel bad for about a year for having short hair, I guess you look okay. I mean, it's just past the point. You're not going to have long hair anymore. She's a fan of long hair, always has been a fan of long hair on guys, and she refused to. I go, this is mine. So we'll just let it grow out and then layer it back. And you'd think that I could accomplish that. I would go back in and it's like, no, they saw a mullet, so they remulletized me. Like, for the love of God.
Huh. We should have a poll. Which 80s band had the longest hair?
So, yeah, I didn't... And I did, yeah. I got mulletized. It's like sanitized. So, I mean, I'm real... Hey, look, obviously, I have no shame. I posted those pictures up there. I posted them on MySpace, first of all. And I titled that one, the one where I'm, like, licking Neil's ear. or pretending to stick my tongue in Neil's ear. Trust me, pretending.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the taste of wax. I said, Neil and George, the mullet years. And that's what I labeled it. Mullet years. I don't remember it actually being called a mullet back then. I said that was the style. I guess some people knew it. I guess it got a name eventually. Isn't that a kind of fish? I don't understand. What is it? Is it a fish with a long fin? So back to the people emailing, I wanted to say thank you to the people that have been contributing things. Getting more emails these days than ever before, and that, of course, includes all of the different kinds of emails, including, guess what? I haven't done an official count, but if I did, I think I have a winner, Boca Brian. Mm-hmm. Hey, do you know where I can get a copy of the Mickey and Eisner bits?
Yeah, ACN, or go right to Premier Network.
If I had the time, because I've gone through so many things over the years, like I used to be a smartass back to people who ask me stupid questions on the phone, like answering the phone for Neil for many years. In the beginning, I would humor people, and then I stopped humoring them and then started talking back to them, basically saying, do you know what an asshole you are by asking me to do something for you here in the middle of a radio show? And then I realized that was a waste of my time, so I would just hang up on them without saying another word. Hey, can you click? And that's how I would
do you remember when we both tried to contact Pettingill and he shunned us?
Yes.
It was about 5 years ago?
Sure.
Well, we're going to shun him. That's why we're not playing. I've got all this stuff.
Yeah, whatever. Again, I would like to... I don't know where you people come from. What country do you come from? Where are you people? What is it that you do for a living so that we can ask you to give us some of that for free? And I got one guy that offered us money for the tapes and the archives or something. I'll think about it. We'll think about it. Because that requires work. How much do we want to charge people to give them copies of the material that we have stockpiled over all the years? Hello, SoFloRadio.
Hey, George, this is Daniel, the guy who put up your picture on Friday. We tagged your picture on Facebook.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you very much for that.
No problem. Well, the story was this. Back in 2000, I lived in Fort Myers, and I worked for a newspaper, an entertainment newspaper. You guys were simulcasts over there for a while, on and off, and the latest was in 2000. So a buddy photographer friend of mine went over and we interviewed you and Boca Brian and Joe Castello and met Neil again. I met Neil a couple of times at his appearance. In fact, if you looked at a cabinet in your old studio, you used to have South Park stickers. I was going to give those stickers to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have that cabinet. That's the killer cabinet that lacerated Adam Kirshner, and we had to call 911.
Yeah, but so you were very, very gracious enough to let us come in like the last half hour of the show and watch you guys do the show, which was an honor. I mean, it was, I worked in radio before, but it was magic to see the master at the helm of the wheel.
Amen.
And, we went to Sonny's Pit Barbecue, I don't know if you guys remember that, and we had lunch together, and we broke bread, and we just talked, and I came across those pictures, and I actually had the WIOD Insider from, back at Peaches Records. Do you remember Peaches Records?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I stumbled in there one day in, 1992 and just saw this little pamphlet for a radio show. I'm like, well, what the hell is this? And so I picked it up, and coincidentally, I never saw another issue of it. I don't know if they made it anymore. Never saw issue 1. That was issue number 2. But
I think there were 3 total that I recall. There might have been more, but I kept a hold of 3. I don't know where they are. The one, and I posted pictures of one that somebody sent in, which was great.
Yeah,
saved me the trouble. That was you? Excellent. Thank you. Saved me the trouble of having to find my copy and go scanning it, because I have it somewhere.
It was great to see you with the mullet. And I also sent you, I don't know if you both checked your email. I sent you the Bob Lassner and Neil when he was up in WSUN back in the mid-90s.
No, I haven't been able to get email at my house.
I got it.
He's got it.
Okay, good.
I haven't loaded it yet. Now, a lot of these the sound files I'm getting are sampled differently than, it's I don't want to get too technical, but I have to run them back real time and re-record them again.
That's
appreciate it anyway. I mean, it's still
no problem.
Good stuff.
If you guys need a hard copy of it, I can send you a disc if that's needed. Whatever you guys need. I don't know if you guys need WQAM shows. I have a back archive from about 2004 to about 2009. I don't know if you guys have those archives still.
Yes.
But I have all those shows. I mean, if you need them for anything.
Okay.
But I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. And I wish I could be down there. I'm up in New Orleans, so I can't be down there.
No.
If you guys are up this way, let me know, because
we could be. That makes 2 people that can hook me up in New Orleans. That's great. I'll just.
Yeah, my wife loves the strip club, so hey, we'll hit the town.
Okay, well, if she goes, yeah.
Oh,
normally I don't.
I don't normally go either, but I don't go if she goes. So
yeah.
Of course, that's a prerequisite. But
we'll buy her the lap dances. That's way better than anybody than me getting them.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Well, George, you guys take care, and all my best.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Oh, I should have asked him if he knew where to find the Mickey Neisner bits. I get emails. I should find it right now. Hey,
they're right here. I got them right here.
The emails. Hey, do you know where I can find the copy of the Mickey Neisner bits? The answer is, and I'm not responding because they're not worth my time. Delete is all that I have time for. But the answer to the question, in case you're wondering, is yes. Yes, I do know where to find copies of the Mickey Neisner bits. How's that?
I'd rather play 3 hours of Neil than one petting.
Oh, for the love of God. And I'm not going to take anything with Pettingill. We had great stuff. Really glad and happy that you people enjoyed the Mickey Neisner bits, and now stick your tongue deep in my ass. How's that? I mean, I'm sorry. With all that's going on, I got a sick wife. Brian and I are doing triple duty. I was already doing double duty, and then the wife fell ill while I'm still struggling with a cold over here. So now, forget about sleep. You're eating on the run. You're eating, walking, standing up. You're walking, eating a sandwich while driving a car, and texting with the other hand, driving with your knee, trying to get everything done over the course of the day that I'm trying to do. Not getting any sleep, and these assholes are calling, asking me to do something for them. Do something for us. Do something for me. Click the donate button or something. Stop asking what I can do for you. Are you kidding? And then, of course, this is the crowd. I'm used to you people. I'm used to it. Over the years, calling up. The talk lines exist. This is something I would have to yell at people about. Like my first show, my first producer show, I had to vent all my producer grief. I got to get a lot of things off my chest that first show sitting in for Neil. The phone lines, the radio station paid money when I worked there to put in all these different phone lines, a lot of them. I think we had 8 lines at one point, plus the 800 line, 9 lines altogether, that the radio station paid a lot of money for, so that people could call up and interact with the host on the show to help create the show. It's a talk show. 2 people talking, usually the host and the callers. 2-way conversation. A conversation requires 2 people, as opposed to a monologue. If it was a monologue show, if the Neil Rogers Show was a monologue show, they would not have phone lines at all. I have to explain this to people. People who grew up here in America with technology and understanding and English and the TV, and I got to explain it. The phone lines exist. For example, our Skype line, that 954-99-0036. It's not free. I paid for it. So that people could call and be on the show, participate, have a conversation. Takes 2 to have a conversation. If the Neil Rogers Show had been a monologue show, they would not have had phones in the studio, and I would not have had to wear that stupid little headset that you see in the video and in a lot of the pictures. And I could just concentrate on interacting with Neil, and I would never, ever have to pick up the phone. The receptionist would have to deal with the asshole public and all the stupid requests that they have. But since it's a talk show, they put the phones there, and we advertise the phone numbers all the time. No matter how many times you try to explain to people that those phones and those phone lines are there for people that want to go on the air and interact with the host, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that. They're calling for every other reason. When I would train producers, whether it was a new guy in the studio, newbie in the studio, like Adam, for example, should have talked about that because he was one of the first people that I trained. Or, we had training sessions. You train with a lot of other producers, but everybody gets their turn with me. And I would explain to them, your job is to put people on hold that want to talk to the host. Period, the end. That phone line rings, it's either someone who wants to contribute to the show and talk on the host, or it's someone who is an enemy of your time, a time burglar, a time bandit, someone who is going to be distracting you from your job. If they're calling for any other reason, I don't care if their head's on fire, I don't care if it's a bomb threat, if they're calling for any other reason, and you engage them in conversation, they are destroying your ability to do your job. If they want, so it goes like this. Hello, the Neil Rogers Show. If the next words out of their mouth aren't, I want to talk to Neil, click. I don't even say anything. You don't have time. The lines are ringing all the time. And now with the emails. I don't have time for anything. If the email is hey, it will require me to take some action to do something that will not directly result in me getting some money or something, the answer is click. I hit the little X there, little delete, off you go. Go bother someone else. Go to Publix and ask for a grape. Go to Publix and stand in line where the cashier works, and just stand there and talk to the cashier. Don't have nothing. Don't buy nothing. Don't walk up with anything. Just stand there in front of the cashier. Just wait in line. When you get to the cashier, say, "Hey, do you know where you guys get your grapes?
Can I have some?"
Yeah. Go bother someone else. Way too much to do, and talk about feverishly trying to put on good shows and trying to pay tribute the right way, and everything that we've got, just not sleeping. And we're needing a vacation after this. You're talking about how much I've aged in the past 10 years. I've aged 10 years in the past 10 days over everything that we're doing over here. No one has any idea. If you're not,
I can't get over that. If 10 years difference.
Yeah.
It's not that long a time.
It's that, I'm telling you, man, it's that second child.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. And, in marriage and stress and everything. But, hey, everything's slap happy now. I'm going to actually start aging backwards for the next 10 years. You'll see. I don't think the hair's going to be... You got to
get a blood transfusion from Suds.
I don't think the hair's going to be coming back. I don't think we're taking any breaks at all. Yeah. Suds never had children, you see, Brian. Hello, SoFloRadio.
Hey, how you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
We're hanging in there. I got to ask you a couple questions that I never really asked you while you were doing the Neil show, when he was on vacation or awards. A couple things. Number one, how difficult was it for you and Neil to do the show while he was in Toronto?
It took about a month to get used to it. We never did the kind of hand signals that other people do on shows. We got very used to each other, so we never stepped on each other a lot. You kind of see, it's obvious when someone leans into the microphone and opens their mouth. It's kind of obvious that they're going to talk. So it took, without those kinds of subtle visual cues, it took about a month. We were stepping all over each other a lot, but then we got used to that. We got used to the rhythm of that, and it made a little bit more sense eventually.
Right.
So not as easy at all, but we adjusted.
Right, and also one thing was, I don't know if you liked it as much as maybe Neil did, or you both didn't like it at all, but remember all time we used to do screen, but to just would just call in, say stupid stuff. I mean, was that stressful for you because you didn't know what these people were going to say at any time?
Screenless was less stressful for me, and I don't know why this phone's breaking up. We might have to test the connection. I hope it's not us. Screenless was less stressful for me because I didn't have to talk to the people ahead of time. Neil had to deal with them. So screening the calls was stressful, even though we had a very, very simple system. You would think, that I just explained. Do you want to talk to Neil? If the answer was anything but yes, I would hang up on them. But still, people would call up for every other reason than to talk to Neil. That's the thing that just always shocked. People wanted to know what was going on the television in some other town. Like, we're all connected. Everybody who's in broadcasting, we're all connected with each other, and we're all talking to each other every day. People would call for the craziest things. They'd call for the weather report. I'd say, call 976 weather, call 976 info. We're doing a talk show over here. So yeah, I hated answering the phones, quite frankly.
Right. And did you have help near the end that just with some internet or not?
No, Neil decided. No, because Neil, especially when he's in Toronto, he didn't want to have to wait for the screening process. So he just went screenless. He wanted to be screenless all the time. So, which, by the way, is brave. You'll find very few people, if any at all, that have the stones to do a show screenless, like this here. Nobody answered the phone and asked you any questions before you started talking to me.
I don't call very often to many. I really don't go to sports shows or anything like that. But really, whatever I would say to you or to someone else, it doesn't mean I'm going to say it. So it doesn't really matter what I. Well,
that's why we never, you'll notice, I don't know if you've ever called the Neil Rogers Show, but the only kind of thing that we did in the name of screening was to hang up on the chronics that would call continuously. You would recognize their voice, I would recognize their voice, and hang up on them, and those are the only people that we were screening out. No one ever got asked a question. I never asked anyone, what do you want to talk about? That wasn't it at all.
Not, because what's the difference?
Professional.
When you call the show, I'd be like, you would ask me where you calling from, just saying, okay, hold on.
Look, professional crank callers aren't going to call a radio show and identify themselves as a crank caller. They're going to have a cover story all locked and loaded to get past the phone screener, and then they get on the phone, they get on with the host, go and then make their tardo sounds. We knew that, so there really wasn't any point asking someone what they wanted to talk about. We wanted to be as surprised as everyone else, and a lot of people, and every other show, they try to shape the nature of the show based on that, what the people want to talk about. They try to steer the conversation, and we never did that. Neil never did that. Just let it happen.
Right, and I guess in closing that, obviously we've already heard you say this, we've heard many other people say this, that there's never going to be another Neil Rogers show. As maybe people will try to interpretate their own type of show.
I got to get to my dictionary. Hey, you're right, but I got to hang up on you because Scott Ferrall's calling in, and I told him that I'd call him. Scott Ferrall, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's up?
I'm glad. Well, first of all, I'm glad it was that guy's phone and not your phone, because I wanted this to be crisp and clear. Did a nice talk up of you before the show. I keep forgetting. I mean, I mentioned it to my co-hostess here, one of the crew, Monica, that we saved a life together, and that's a weird thing for Scott Ferrall, because normally you're destroying lives. Normally you just wreck people's lives wholesale.
I like to contribute to the delinquency of everyone and the downfall of all.
Yes, absolutely. No question about it. Scott Ferrall, ladies and gentlemen.
Some people think I'm the devil. Remember when they said Neil was God and Ferrall must be the devil? I
use the devil motif a lot. I like to lead people unto temptation. Scott Ferrall worked with us for a while there on QAM. We had a really spectacular time. It was a great time for us because, for a change, someone else was getting in trouble. Management was walking down the hall with that look on their face, and it wasn't our fault this time. It was Ferrall's fault. He made us look like the church lady by comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that they were pussies, to be honest with you. I didn't think any of it was, well, look, I've been in a lot of trouble over the years, let's face it, with the FCC after me. But I'm 5-0 against them in court, and because, in essence, they weren't able to, these radio stations, these pussy programmers, like Daryl was, he didn't know the fine line between indecency, obscenity, and hate-mongering, and what is it? He just thought, because I called Howard David, his wife had a big box. No one could even determine what that meant, but they fired me over it. And I hate I hate those people down there. But some people say, how long can you hold a grudge? I'll hate these and those for both dead. Until they're both dead, I won't be happy. And I think what's even worse is that two good things came out of working there. Being able to know you and Neil, and the other would be how much fun I had watching Neil destroy Howard David's life. And I still see that bald, ugly, saddled, creepy freak. He comes into Sirius NFL radio. He comes into Sirius to do NFL radio like once a month. Okay. And he flies up there and walks in there with his suitcase and his bald head. And I mean to tell you, every time I see him, all I think of was how much shit Neil blew him. I mean, it was the greatest 1 year of torture I've ever seen of any radio talent. Like, I've seen Howard do all the funerals for people, and I've seen, that kind of thing. And I saw the man send Howard dog shit, and then Howard spoke up his dad, and I just remember those things. But nothing was better than the moral stuff every day until, I he hates my guts.
I sent him an email. I've been trying to get everybody together for the tributes. I sent him an email. Somebody sent me his email. I sent him an email inviting him to be on the show to reflect about Neil, even if it's just to bust an ass. I'm trying to create like an audio record of everyone's
he'll show up.
sentiments.
Don't worry about it.
No response. Hey, maybe you have some influence. You want to go visit him and ask him to be on the show for me?
Tell him Boca has his multicolored toupee. I'm holding it hostage.
I don't think he'll do it because he's too much of
of a pussy.
I've never in my life met anyone who took themselves as seriously as he did. I mean, to a crazy level, because I thought everybody in show business understood that it was show business and we're all clowns to a certain degree.
Right.
You know, even the news people know that it's a product and they're doing their hair. And, you know, speaking of their hair, and that was one of my lines. I said, how can anybody that takes himself so seriously walk out of the house looking like that? Meaning with the multicolored toupee on their head.
If it makes you feel any better, he's completely bald now.
Yeah, no,
he just walks around like Kojak now.
He started shaving. At QAM, after you left, he started shaving. He got tired of that. He got tired of being made fun of with the muskrat on his head, so he finally retired it. I think he had it taxidermied.
I mean, Neil made so much fun of that hairdo. I got to say, like, the other thing I remember about Neil was that he told me one day the best advice I've ever had in radio, because I worked the 27 years I've been doing this, and everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got bright ideas and think they know what to tell you how to do shows, how to be on the air, how to be entertaining, all the other. And I've never listened to anybody. I've never met so many assholes in my life, and just total dick goose. I mean, every time I turned around, I got some tool giving me advice. And the only thing I ever remember him saying to me that I practiced to this day was, because I was always in trouble, like 5 days a week. They were yelling at me at QAM. And so I was like, every day I was just so miserable. I'm like, God damn, this place is so pussy. And he said to me one day, on air, he said, why can't I think maybe it was off air because it was so foul. He said, quote, why don't you just do your show and then go home and fuck your pretty girlfriend?
What great advice.
He said, stop arguing with these people. Stop trying to figure them out. Stop trying to understand this corrupt, vicious, horrible business we're in, and just do your show and walk out, go home, and fuck your pretty girlfriend. And I, to this day, like, I've been at Howard Stern for, 6 years, whatever it's been. I don't even know. And I'm still doing shows there for how long, I don't know. Every day it's different. I may get dumped. I may stay. I know I just got a little mini extension because they still couldn't figure out if they were going to fire me or not. Because they just don't, they don't. Guys like me don't matter. I've learned that as well over the years, that you just don't matter. You think you matter, and you really don't. And the only one that really matters there is Howard, and I get that. But to this day, I implemented his theory, and I went to work there thinking, I never left it anywhere. I was at Westwood 1 4 years. I was at QAM 1 year. Everywhere I went, I was there 1 year and gone. I'm so edgy and dirty, whatever you want to call it. So I met Howard, and every year I just kept doing the same thing. I would do the show, go home, fuck 34C, and get up, wash, rinse, repeat, go do it again. And I never got fired, and I lasted there longer than I lasted anywhere. So if they fire me now, I don't even fucking care. I don't even care if they fire me. I mean, it's 6 years.
Very good. Did you hear about Neil before you went to work there, or was that like? Because I never heard because I don't listen to the sports talk, so I never heard your act until you were there in the building. So
I've been on QAM before that, George. In 1995 to 99, they carried me at night when you were not listening to the radio, when no one listens to the radio. But I was on every night from 10 to 1 in the East out of L.A. I was syndicated in 200 markets, and QAM was always loyal to me, and they carried the show. I love QAM. I love Miami. I love living there. I still have a place in Boca. I love South Florida. I just got back last night from St. Martin, which I like better than I like Miami. And I was on there, and I heard of Neil for sure, and I thought, let me just sum it up. He's the best talent that I've ever worked with, and that includes Howard. I mean, I think Howard's the greatest morning show in the history of radio, bar none, hands down, clearly, far and away. But Neil was different because I think there was a big difference between them. I mean, he cared about people. He liked my show. He liked that I was defiant. He liked that I argued with him. He liked that I was a hellraiser. He talked to me. He was real. He loved hockey. I loved hockey. I did hockey play-by-play in Atlanta for the Thrashers. He loved the going games. He always had season tickets to the Panthers and the Leafs. He liked fast cars. He had all those core bastards. He liked bottle whatever he wanted. Howard, I email him like once a year, and I don't talk to him. You're not allowed to look at him. You're not allowed to touch him. You're not allowed to. He's like the Pope. He has no entrance, exit. They rope off his office. If anyone looks at him, they get fired. That kind of stuff doesn't jive with me. Like you think you're. And I love Howard. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong when I say this. I love and respect Howard very much, and he handpicked me to be on his channels, and I greatly admire it. But anyone that won't touch you, won't shake your hand, won't do this, you're not allowed to talk to him. You know what? Suck my dick. Okay, Pope? When you think you're the fucking Pope, then you've lost your marbles. And when you got a helicopter ride in from the Hamptons and a fucking limo, and you go on your private jet to this place and that place, I just don't like you anymore. And I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm just saying that's what it's like. Just so you know, I could walk into Neil with Hungry Howie's and give him an egg sandwich, and he'd say, "Get the fuck out of here." And I'd be like, "That was better than anything I ever got from anyone else." I had a 14 share with him. I think he was going to get an 8 share, and I got a 6 share. And in radio language, to people that don't know what that means you're number one.
That's right.
And I thought we were the best morning, midday, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. combination I've ever worked with in my career. I love Neil Rogers.
It was fun.
I loved it.
In spite of management, management hated that kind of radio. They hated fun. That I was really, really happy that we had somebody else in there that made management all really uncomfortable and got their knickers in a twist. One of the things that I'm doing.
What he said about old people and he just. What he said about South Florida, everything, he hated it, but I think he secretly loved it. And I also loved when he just would call the Miami Hurricanes, and he just did entire burp and fart shows. And I just thought he had such a pace to him. There was a pace to the show. I thought you were the perfect antidote to him. I thought, you guys were incredible together. And, I've seen a lot of great I really haven't seen a lot of great radio. I know some shows that people have adored for years, but that was my favorite show.
Neil always looked for things to say about people. He liked to shred people. Whenever you heard him talk nice, that's because he really couldn't find a bad thing to say. The closest thing that he got to bad about you is because he really liked the show. We would sit there and listen to you before doing our show, and he was in stitches. He would laugh. Which is, Neil had a great sense of humor, but, you get jaded over the years doing comedy shows and listening to comedy bits, so neither one of us were an easy audience. It took something actually funny to make us laugh, and we were cracking up at your show all the time. He thought you were genuinely crazy, though. He thought that you were certifiable, but he was really happy that you were on the station. He was a big fan of your show. The torture, the Greg Reed torture, the discomfort that you put Greg through gave Neil no end of joy. Neil just loved that you tortured Greg, that you made Greg crazy, that you busted him, that you ran down the hall looking for his girlfriend, and just all of the
I love that
evil
story.
Shit that you did to Greg Reed.
I said, everybody knows you're fucking a 21-year-old, and everybody knows why your son was playing football at college. And I just said like this, and on there, and then one day I'll never forget, he came into my studio doing the show, and he just stood there staring at me. So I just started throwing media cards at him. I'm out now, he started laughing, and I go, I'm trying to hit you.
What's
Get the fuck out of here, you peanuts and your Brazil. And then I had to deal with bad Brett Ferrall all day.
Oh, my God.
I never took my ball back. But then the greatest thing I heard in the last few years is when they removed him from the Tommy Center number half. Hey. Still like that fucking guy knows anything about radio compared to me. Fuck my dick.
It'll make you happy to know that the guy that took my job also took his job, and now he's like their online program director, which is, as you know, not even a real job. So, but he's got one. He's still there.
I think Sid's good on there because a lot of people hate him, and a lot of people love him, and I worked with him in New York for a long time. He fills in for me on Howard a lot, and I just... whatever.
I think
he's pretty good there.
We were talking. We've had a couple conversations on his show. We've been like on each other's shows and everything. And again, I don't listen to the sports talk, but he called me young man, and I said, I'm older than you, Dad. And he said, I've lived twice the life you have in the same number of years. And I said, does that mean that you've done more coke and fucked more whores? Because if that's the case, then he wins. Can you back that up? Can you verify it? Does he have sex with prostitutes and do coke off their asses?
I'm sorry, George. Say that again. Listen, I'm sorry. I just want to put on a shocking revelation. My wife's here, and she shouldn't be here. I
was asking you if Sid did a lot of coke and fucked a lot of whores when you knew him.
Russian one.
I knew he did a lot of bad things. He wrote his book and admitted it. He loves coke, crack, weed, booze, pills. I don't know him to ever actually do hookers. I know that he's got a lovely wife and 2 great kids, and I always think really good friends with him. And I've also partied with him, and I've also done bad things with him. And I think he's great with what he does.
Yeah.
It didn't take him long, like it didn't take me long to be, number one in Miami. I don't think it's a hard market. Come do that in New York, and I'll be impressed.
Right. No, because nobody's trying. Nobody's trying to put on good radio down here. That's why we're doing it, over here on our own online radio station where you can say.
I would have stayed there. I liked it there. I got sick of
the radio people. The people that run radio down here, they hate radio. All the radio stations in this town are in the hands of people who hate radio, who want to destroy radio. And in case you hadn't noticed.
I know Duff's doing a country show.
Yeah.
I can't figure that out. I'm just glad he's back.
Can't you? It's a job. He took a job. He went over to a radio station and said, "Can I have a job? I'll do anything."
Yeah, and I admire him. I always liked him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He was always cool with me. It's the attitude of these other guys trying to teach me something. Can you imagine how long I've been doing nationally syndicated radio? Dude, do you think I got syndicated 6 times nationally because I'm some kind of fucking idiot? Like, I don't know how to do a radio show.
It's because you're a pretty girl, because you got naked pictures. That's why it is. You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah. If anything happens up there, Scott, you always got a gig with us.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you've done. I mean, how many years have you been doing it?
About a year and change, a year and a few months now, and we're still kicking things. We're the only game in town. Nobody's even trying to compete against this.
I think Bubba's going to start doing it on Radio IO.
Everybody, that's what he said. All the towers, in case you don't know, all the towers are coming down anyway, radio and television. Everything's going to be delivered via internet in the next 5 years anyway. It's going to be a whole new level playing field. Speaking of kids, though, you got 1 at least or 2 now?
I got 2. I got a 6-year-old son and I got a 3-year-old daughter, and they're both insane. And I do see a shrink once a week because I am fucking crazy.
Like Neil said, yeah. No question. We knew that, right?
Totally crazy.
But in a fun way.
I got short fuse. People say me being on Bob Knight for 5 years didn't. I loved him, and I think he wore on me a lot, and he was abusive and foul-mouthed and mean and vicious, and that's who I am. And I'm a lot like him, and I got the littlest thing gets me mad, George. Like, honestly, if the door's locked, I can't get it undone. Like the fucking thing.
Really?
I get so mad so quick. Driving a car, I'm like a suicidal. In New York, I want to mangle out people in the forehead. And it must mean something.
He just gave me an idea for a comedy. Ferrall driving school.
I shoot a person in the head while driving, and that's when you know you got to go see a shrink.
Oh man, it's always a trip talking to you. Listen, when you hit town, you call. You can be like a caller and call and use language on here that whatever you want. Give us updates. I want to know about your your kids and what you're doing. Just give us Ferrall reports every now and again. Don't be a stranger.
Anytime, George. And Rip Neal, R.I.P. baby. Rest in peace up there in Canada heaven. I love him. He was one of a kind, and I'll miss him dearly.
Listen,
and I know you will too.
I know you hit town. I know you come to town. I want you to visit our studios. I think you're going to like what you've done, and come over here and we'll just get loaded right on the show.
Does Beast still work there?
Who?
The Beast.
He does a show. He does a Kane show on our network here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, sports. The sports heads thing. But he's got an audience. He's doing all right.
How's he doing? How fat
He's fat. He's going to be dead any minute now. Just every day is could be his last. So if you got something to say to him, I would say it today. You know,
I love that guy.
He eats fried lard. That's all he eats, fried lard with a big old spoon. That's it. He just fries fat and eats that with sugar on it.
Tell him I said that Notre Dame fucked Miami in the asshole in their bowl game. The giant.
I'll be sure.
The giant hurricane cock.
The next sports conversation I have with him, I'll be sure and send him your sentiments. Scott, it's always a pleasure. Seriously, don't be a stranger.
And you see Daryl, time to get that fucking tongue of his straight.
Yeah, I don't see him. I don't think I'm gonna.
I hope he dies.
All right.
I don't see you.
If I see him, he won't see me. Thanks a lot, Scott. Scott Ferrall, ladies and gentlemen. 1 o'clock, got Suds in the house. So, play some things there, Brian. End it with the Spick and Suds show. Open, I reckon. And Defo coming up next in the next hour speaking. Yeah, on the phone. And I don't know, and then I guess the quest for Marvin Rahman continues. We'll talk to Defo because Defo has some particular insight there. I don't know exactly what he's going to say about it, but all you people in the audience, you know what it was all about. 1 o'clock on all Defo Radio, SoFloRadio.com.
Longer, firmer, and fully packed with flavor. SoFloRadio.com. And now the Dolphin Update with Coach Don Shula.
Well, I watched yesterday's game, and it was a fine game, and they played a fine team. It was they were fine opponents and fine players, and all around it was fine. I personally think Vinky Byers did a fine job, and although it's my understanding that Vinky Byers is no longer around, but I always liked Vinky Byers, but I guess he found something else to do. While I'm on the subject, I just want to mention about the steak sauce that's available in your grocer's counter. If you'll notice the profile they used on the front of the steak sauce, well, that's my profile that they took a picture of while I was straining on the toilet. I was trying to make doo-doo. It went something like this.
Wait a minute, hold it, Don. I think you're going to like this.
That's your Dolphin Update. The Miami Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl with the Miami Dolphins Super Bowl halftime show. If you think watching men in tights is exciting, wait till you see them in tights and pumps. They might not be good at playing football, but they sure can dance. The Miami Dolphins Super Bowl halftime show, featuring A.J. Feely, who will expose his breasts.
Touchy, Feely, Feely.
And the Olindo Mare high kick dancers. Let the Miami Dolphins dazzle you with all their sparkling South Beach glamour. Don't miss the funniest football team since the movie Gus with the Miami Dolphins Super Bowl halftime show.
Don Shula, I
Even the competition agrees. The Neil Rogers Show on WZTA, Miami Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches is the best morning show in South Florida.
Anybody who gets a 9 share on an AM station is a hero in my book. You're like St. Thomas Aquinas. You got no problem with me.
Even the other morning shows listen to the Neil Rogers Show on Zeta 4.
I hope you beat me in the ratings. You're better than I am.
I wanted to ask you, what's the latest with Bob Lassiter?
What's the latest?
Yeah.
Well, the latest is he hasn't called me at least a couple of weeks, and man, it's some of the best news I've ever heard in my life. No depressing messages, no calls. I think he finally got the message. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Well, where's he working?
He's still working at the FLA in Tampa.
Oh.
In that big market?
Well, he's not at TLP.
No. Well, thank God for that, right?
Is he going to ABC?
I don't know. I think he's going for a visit, one of those tours.
Oh.
Yeah. Craig Worthing Jr. is on line 1. On 1.
Great.
What can we do for you, Craig?
Yes, Mr. Rogers. If I may call you Mr. Rogers, I'm absolutely hysterical because you've been making fun of my father for a long time. But putting that aside for just a moment, I do have important information about Mr. Lassiter, who you alluded to earlier on your program. Mr. Lassiter will be going to WABC, not the ABC network as you may have implied. but it's merely WABC, the local affiliate in New York City.
Great.
From what I understand, that the station that he is working at is in the process of being sold, so everyone will be looking for some other thing for them to do for a living, to have gainful employment.
Gainful.
I'd really love to stay longer, but I have 5 or 6 people for whom I am cooking a delicious dinner, 5 or 6 of my closest Palm Beach friends. So I really must beg off now, but make someone happy, won't you, please?
Okay, Craig.
Thank you very much.
Now, what's the difference between regular employment and gainful employment? Is this gainful employment?
He said Gainesville employment. He's going to work in Gainesville. At the college station. Gator Radio.
Oh. See, isn't this show ending on an up note?
Yeah. On an upchuck note. I mean, the dessert is delicious, but after the first 6 pounds of food... Or seriously, he hasn't stopped eating from the time we came in this morning. I'm serious. He came in with an armful of fruit.
It's true, folks.
Yeah.
It's true. And he ate that palm tree we had out in the atrium.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, look.
Coconuts and all.
My roommate has been complaining the same thing, that I'm eating all the food out of the kitchen.
Your roommate?
Yeah, he's going to be at this thing tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
The guy that plays that boring jazz on Gloves 94?
How come he's not working tomorrow? He's filling in for somebody in the afternoon. Oh, someone who, another day off? He does know all week. He does that a lot.
Not Irene Richard by any chance, huh?
Where is she now, Dave? I don't know.
She's pouting from all that terrible stuff you said about her yesterday. When you said she was a subhuman douchebag and a mung brain.
Yeah, I said more than that.
And a gigantic piece of human excrement. When you said that,
yeah,
she got very upset.
I wonder why.
Because you exaggerated a little bit.
I really liked eating my girlfriend's butt. Where the pink hole smells, I go nuzzling in her hot spot. In her cheeks I swirl around and hope to God that she don't fart. But that's what I like, eating my girlfriend's butt. When she's on her knees, I slather on the lanolin. It's difficult to breathe when my head goes all the way in. I can only last so long before I have to pull it back out. But that's how I like eating my girlfriend's butt. Puns are fun. I like to snack between them. I nibble and tongue while using my hands to squeeze them. I give her the ultimate kiss by planting my lips on her pink starfish. That's what I like, eating my girlfriend's butt. That's what I like,
eating my girlfriend's butt.
Don't drive in that left-hand lane, man. If they catch you...
Well, Suds has a little plywood pal now.
Huh?
Suds has a little plywood pal. Somebody made a little life-size thing of him out of plywood, and he drives around with it in the diamond lane. Yeah.
Let me get to work. Thanks.
Bye. Let's go to...
To know when you listen to the radio,
today. And listen and have your say. It's time for the Spick and Sud Show. And I'm not wearing any clothes.
109 on SoFloRadio.com. Jorge Rodriguez, Boca, Brian, Monica, and then, of course, the inimicable Suds Coleman. And I say that because I don't think anyone's ever tried to imicle you. Well, let me turn your microphone on, and then you'll see what you have to do. No, that's the other way. Booming and exploding.
Look at that. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Happy New Year.
You know, the lovely Monica, by the way, she's still wearing her evening gown from New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And she just set up a Facebook page for me. Something that I've been...
and the lampshade from New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you, Monica.
My pleasure.
My gosh.
Everyone can now befriend Suds Coleman on...
Yes, go friend him. Oh, and then we'll be poking you?
Oh, man.
Oh, I can't wait. I want to be the first.
This is going to be a great year.
Oh, great. Move fast, George. Move fast. Are you on... Suds Stop? I can't find you. Is it Suds Coleman?
It may not be published yet, actually.
He's not on there yet.
But he will be.
So this morning I hear Facebook is yet to turn a profit, and yet they have valued it at $50 billion.
That's like this company here.
Yeah. Exactly right.
SoFloRadio.com is right. It's a $5 million company.
Why do you think I hang around with you guys?
Listen, unlike all these other people...
Because in a couple of years you'll sell this for $50, $100 million.
That's right. And, hey, unlike Clear Channel and every other broadcast company right now, we haven't lost any money.
No, that's exactly right.
Right. What? What did you... I thought you saw something on the TV. I'm easily distracted. Look at the money.
I'm distracted by Boca Brian when this drops.
We're...
the wafting voice of
How you doing there, Brian?
Oh, we're fine.
Adam Kirshner wants a number, by the way. Speaking of Adam, the quest for Marvin continues. Did you hear me talk about somebody thinks that he might not be around anymore?
No, I didn't.
And we're going to be, speaking of Marvin, going to be talking to Defo, man. Look, we're going to have a party. I know that Memorial Service is going to have a lot of the old crew back together, but I think that we should have a staff party for all of us who used to be staff. What do you think? At some point somewhere. And it'll be a secret.
We'll have it at the Billabong.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right,
nobody's using it.
I think it's still there. I mean, empty. Well, no, we would go visit Jill at Boston Johnny's. Now that's where we would go. That's a nice place. But we wouldn't tell the audience when because sorry, it's for us because we have to tell a lot of inside shit because we knew a lot of inside shit. We would do a lot of shit inside. That's the inside shit.
Yeah.
So you haven't heard? You don't know anything about Marvin?
I didn't hear anything last week, and so I don't know what's going on.
I heard he was in poor health.
Really?
And might not be alive anymore.
No kidding.
This is why somebody, set us straight on that. Get Ramen to call in or tell us something. You'd think that if Marvin had passed or if something had happened to Marvin that we would have heard about it. One of us would have heard about it. He wasn't a minor player.
Last time I saw Marvin was Thanksgiving Day. It was his last day. At the station. And it was Thanksgiving Day, and we were doing turkeys in the parking lot with, deep frying turkeys in the parking lot.
Right.
And his mom showed up. She started calling me names, and then Marvin dragged her off, and that was the last I saw of him.
What did she call you?
I don't know. It was all Spanish.
I see. That's right. I didn't know. Well, a couple things. This is all very exciting. We can just play this by ear. Because people, we talked to Rick. I don't know if you heard that.
I heard you did, but I didn't hear anything about it, no.
Well, I had tentative plans to call him back, and we'll do that during the next break. Just to make sure that he's available or something. So we'll have a Rick and Suds on-air reunion. You guys haven't been on the air together since when? What year?
01.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
01.
Yes.
10 freaking years.
10 years now, yeah.
Just ping.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Like that it went. Like that.
Yeah.
Like my hair. Like my hair and my hair color. Like that it went.
Now he's in Nashville. By the way, I got home earlier than I had anticipated, and I got home Friday night, or Friday afternoon, actually. And so,
You know, I'm ingesting stuff. And anyway, watching CNN, the New Year's Eve coverage on CNN, because I'm one of the few that likes Kathy Griffith. And
yes, you are.
And but anyway, they were doing a live thing from Nashville.
I like Kathy Gifford better than Kathy Griffith.
And they were at the Hard Rock in Nashville. And suddenly I realized why Rick had moved to Nashville. After all that weight he gained, he blends right in there. You know, nobody even notices.
Oh, my God, you're calling him fat?
I never saw so many fat people in my life.
In Nashville?
In Nashville at the Hard Rock, New Year's Eve.
I thought it was funny, the one trip we took to New York, everybody there was not fat, because you walk everywhere. In the city, that is.
Oh, yeah.
This fat town down here. And up there, people. So I told Defo that we'd call him around 1. This is around 1, right?
Sure is.
And later on, we'll roll around 1.
I wish you would have told me. I have his open.
Oh, Defo's open?
Yeah.
We could still play it in the middle of his phone call. If he answers his phone. I spoke to him before the show, so it's not like this is going to be a surprise or anything.
This is Sports Talk 610, South Florida's most listened to sports show. To join the show, call 751.
This is how the show used to sound, too. Just
524 WIOD from Broward.
Empty phone line.
305.
I don't think he's going to answer.
What the hell was that?
Wow.
Don't you love some people's answering messages?
Wow.
WQAM. Was this recorded off of the radio?
Yeah. I don't think so. He just held his phone up to the speaker. Wow. Do I have to pay royalties if we play that any longer?
Well, you know, he's a soul man.
Whoa.
Once I hear you see, leave me a message and I get back with you.
Oh, wow. That's not his right number.
Uh-oh.
That's his wrong number. It's a good thing we didn't leave him. That does not sound like Jeff DeForrest. I thought I verified it. It's on my phone.
No, he would have put Barry White on there.
I'm telling you.
Barry White's camping tips.
Oh, man. No way that wasn't Defo. That's the number that he called me on. Man. I'm all confused over here now.
Jeff, call us.
I don't know which girlfriend that is.
That's scary, George.
I got that before. Now I'm totally confused. I'm trying to think of who gave me his number in the first place.
Well, he did.
Because it's not like I
just make up numbers.
Didn't have Jeff's number. That's what I mean. Defo goes all the way, but 2 places together, IOD and QAM. So we got to get Defo on here. And Neil actually, I knew, we used to take shots at the first team and such, but he liked Defo at IOD. I don't know if he stopped liking him.
Where was he first, at QAM or IOD?
He was at IOD.
First? Yeah.
Right, okay. I remember him walking in there. At that time, it was, Hank and Joe Zagacki with the sports department, and he was a come lately, more or less, and then as Greg started hiring people from IOD and moving them over to QAM, Defo became the sports director.
Okay.
Him and Scotty Mack, who I'm trying to get on.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
There's another guy I've talked to since 01.
Seriously, what a reunion. It's like a high school reunion, but better.
Yeah. Is it?
And that, I think so. Huh. Be curious to see everybody's older. Some people have kids that didn't used to have kids.
Yeah. I'm going to my next one.
Some people stopped drinking. Other people are drinking more.
You ever go to a high school reunion?
No, I have a problem there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because I graduated down here where I didn't know anybody.
Yeah,
but
mostly you were in Montana.
But mostly I was in Montana. So in class of '82, if I go to the Montana class reunions, I didn't graduate with them, so I feel like a schmuck because am I class of 1982, Libby, Montana? No, I didn't graduate with them. I graduated down here with all these people that I didn't know. If I go to this class reunion, the South Miami class reunion, I won't know them, and they didn't know me because it was. Cool. I mean, I know a couple people, and they're like, "Oh, look, there's George. We met him like a month before the year ended. They're on our senior year." I
remember all the fun we had that month.
Hey, remember you
that one time?
You're the guy in the grad night picture that we were all asking, "Who's that guy?" That's it. I made friends, and I'm only still friends with one person from high school down here, and that's Jamaican me, who lives up in like Atlanta or something. So I don't even hang out with him. Yeah. Everybody else, whatever. It's a cold, unfriendly place down here, but as far as all my friends in Montana, we got a lot of stories and memories. I could do the class reunion thing there and be able to relate to all those people, but I didn't graduate from there, so I'm like in limbo. I'm a man without a class.
Next year will be, in 12, it'll be 50 years. So I'm going to that one because I figure, oh, man, there's going to be a lot of walkers and oxygen tanks. And the guys who used to pick on me a lot, they're going to be old and frail, and I'm going to kick their ass.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, wait. All right, I found a different number. I think the other number will be the appropriate number.
Different number.
I know, and I can't talk and type at the same time.
Is that right?
Well, I can, but it's not well.
Jimmy and Danny.
There we go. Who needs you, Jeff? The real Jeff DeForrest, ladies and gentlemen. Who needs the real one? The fake one's way funnier. And I just sent another email to Howard David, by the way, during that last block.
And what did he say?
No, I haven't gotten a response yet. It was a very nice email. I invited him to share his sentiments, even if they're nasty. If Howard wants to come on and pee on Neil's grave, whatever. That's all part of the documentary.
He's busy getting raped.
Jeff DeForrest, ladies and gentlemen. George Rodriguez.
Hey, what's up, my friend?
Suds Coleman, Boca Brian, and Monica, some chick you don't know. We're all here together.
Hiya.
Right? Live on the air?
Hey there,
unbelievable.
yeah, man.
Issue a disclaimer?
We're live off the air. That's right.
And the famous Suds Coleman is with us.
You can say pee-pee.
Awesome. How are you guys?
We were just, I was just justifying your existence before I called. I explained to the audience already that, you started with us at IOD, and then eventually, because Greg Reed was just cutting and pasting everybody from the WIOD over to WQAM, eventually you made it over there, and the first team and all that stuff. Anybody that's ever heard the Neil Rogers Show in those days has to know who Jeff DeForrest is, because Jeff was spoken of often. And we got all these comedy bits.
And he always showed up at 6 o'clock so I could go home.
It was an adventure, that's for sure, all of those years. Actually, my very first job was one of Neil's big stops on the tour. As I was at 940 WINZ, where I'm at now. This was about 28 years ago, and Neil was there doing talk shows, and he eventually moved over to Zeta with the Bird. And seemed like, I don't know, was he following me or was I just following him? Because that's where the money was.
Right. Well, he was already at IOD when you went there. We were there. Yeah. I remember you walking in, and I'm like, who's this guy? I think you were wearing a sweater. I thought you were, what's his name from Taxi? Not Hal Holbrook, not Hal Linden.
Not DeVito, come on.
No, the star.
That's what I'm thinking,
Judd
yeah.
Yes, I thought you were Judd Hirsch walking into the studio there. Had that same kind of posture and delivery.
Sonny Hirsch, maybe.
Sonny Hirsch.
You had me confused. There was a Hirsch there. There's no doubt there was some Jewish guy named Hirsch.
Jeff was cool. We got along with Jeff. Neil liked you just fine. I don't think he started making fun of you until you came over to QAM with us. And he went over first, right? Or did
no, I was there first.
Okay.
Neil came after. Neil was having a tough time with the IOD management. I think he had gone on
again?
an endless, relentless warpath with IOD management because they got through 2 sales, I believe, right at that time. At least that's my recollection of it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we went, I think you were there, George, and we went across the street for that big meeting.
That's right.
And we thought everybody was going to FM radio, and we were all excited. The AM band, what was that, 20 years ago, the AM band was dying, or rumored to be dying.
Uh-huh.
And so we walked across the street because there wasn't enough room for everybody at the complex there. And there came Bud Paxson out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we were going to FM. We were going into purgatory.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, man, that was sad. I remember it was like halfway through the meeting, I'm thinking, no, this is not a good meeting. This is a bad meeting. This is a bad thing.
Only
What's
halfway?
happening?
You remember the henchman that, who was the henchman that?
Bob Neal.
Yeah.
Bob Neal. I like
no, he had another guy, too, that was always by his side. I guess he was waiting to pick up any loose change that Bud might have dropped.
Bob Neal's from Cox. I don't know who followed Buddy Bud around. I remember Buddy Bud might have had Harry Valentine. I don't know if he came later.
There was some guy. It was like an attorney type, some misfit, maybe an accountant.
Oh, yeah.
And everywhere that Paxson was, there he was in his shadow. And, that got ugly. So I knew it was time to go. And then I believe Clear Channel bought the station
a year later.
After that, like a short time after that. And that was right around the time QAM was expanding its lineup, so I went over there. And I think Neil and you guys came a few months later.
It was like 99 or something. I don't know if it started right then, but I remember because there was
1996.
November 98.
1996.
98.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was that 7 months where I had to work there while he got to cool his heels. He got to travel the world while I took a temporary job as production director. Yeah. What a dream.
You dream about that, right? A little non-compete.
We all do.
Paying you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Or maybe, you know, like to get canned at the beginning of a lucrative 5-year contract. You know, that's like my dream in radio still.
Yeah, sure. And then of course live for another 5 years at least so you can enjoy it. That would be a good.
Oh yeah, no, very sad story, and I express, you know, I mean the guy was great. And originally, I think he helped catapult me in the IOD hierarchy because he hated Joe Zagacki so much.
Yes, this is true. And I remember that. He was a big booster. He was a big supporter of yours at IOD.
Huge, yeah, huge supporter, and he kind of got the people thinking. You know, he had so much influence, and the management was so fearful of him that whatever he said, I mean, you know, they could have bought Bozo the Clown in there, which they pretty much did. And if he had the thumbs up from Neil, it was good, you know, and then they actually paid you handsomely, you know, because of Neil's recommendation.
Yeah, they paid you.
And left you alone for a while, at least until they discovered you didn't have the talent they thought you did.
It was a decent atmosphere there. If you were successful, like if you had decent ratings and if Neil liked you fine, because, you know, Neil, it wasn't like they were going to fire anybody because Neil didn't like them, but it sure as hell helped if he did like you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it was nice in general because the guy had such a massive audience, and of course anybody in the media was listening. So it seemed like people started paying attention to you. If you got a thumbs up from Neil, it was such a shocker in some cases, but you know, he was always very good to me at that period of time.
Sure. What was your? Did you know about him before? Because you came. Where were you before you went to IOD? Where did you come from?
I started at 940. And I think Neil was doing late night talk shows. He had moved over from 790. No, what was it? What was the WNWS? Was that 790?
Yeah.
It might have been. I don't know. It was somewhere around there with Steve Kane and that whole lineup. And and then somehow I was doing sports. Like that was at a time where they actually had like an afternoon sports guy doing updates, and they paid him. And so I was doing that. The all-news format was actually like working back then. There were like 4 or 5 all-news stations. And Neil came in there, and then afterwards he moved to IOD, and I went there later. I got out of radio for a brief time and went into television mostly. And then I ended up coming to IOD, and he was already there, firmly entrenched.
And what was your first like encounter? When did you? With
Neil?
Yeah.
I think I had to witness the Ziggy Ziegler incident, which was one of my favorite things that ever happened to me.
Really?
You know, that was a good time because I just remember coming to work. You looked forward to it. There was a big buzz about everything that was happening. Neil was creating a lot of that, generating a lot of energy for the station. People were tuned in. Hey, look, they even listened to Ranieri in his final years. And, you know, let's face it, he was like whistling show tunes by the time, you know, he was ready to go there.
Whistling him twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my first real contact with Neil came around the time that he was riding Ziggy Ziegler, the engineer, about his hairpiece, which was a pretty funky-looking piece. I hope Ziggy's still with us. I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, he's listening to these shows. I got an email from him the other day saying that he doesn't remember, paint or tape on the floor in the beanbag, all the beanbag chairs that were there, the beanbag chair day, which I'm glad that at least Bob Green remembers those 2 occasions.
Well, it was great. I mean, he was a great guy, and everybody was friendly then. You know, it seemed
Steve Ziegler, you can call in. By the way, Steve Ziegler, you can call the show, visit the studio, whatever. You know, get on over here. You're a part of it.
Bring your toolbox.
Right.
Yeah, get a call. Yeah, he was always very nice, and then, you know, Neil was riding him, and one day he came in, he just fired the hairpiece at Neil. And I happened to be walking by the studio as this was happening.
Neil should keep things like that. When people throw things at him like that, should keep it.
Yeah, it was great.
Hang it on the wall, like a scalp, you know, hanging on the door frame. Like
he got so sick of the abuse that, you know, and that was the first time I saw, you know, how Neil got under people's skin. And then, of course, the classic is Howard David, you know.
Of course,
where,
speaking
you know,
of, and of course, Howard lost the toupee for the same reason. He got tired of Neil, you know, making fun of that.
And Howard's toupee wasn't that bad. I mean, they had improved hairpieces by then immensely.
Yeah, but still, it was very obvious. That's how I got in trouble. I shouldn't have said anything because Neil was in Toronto at the time, and they bring Howard in to talk to Neil before the show on the talkback, back and forth, and there's nobody in the studio besides me and whoever brought him in. I guess it was Greg. And he leaves the studio, and Neil goes, "So what's he like?" And I said, "What do you mean? What's he like? He's he's a guy. He's got 2 legs. What? You just spoke to him." And Neil goes, "No, like what's he like? What's he look like?" And I said, older fellow, kind of your age, he's got a bit of a paunch, like you, and he's a member of the club. And Neil says...
Oh, he's a little guy, kind of funny.
And Neil says, the club? What club? And I said, the hair club.
That was all you had to say.
That's all I had to say.
You were always the instigator, right? You came off as the innocent.
And Neil goes on the air, and he goes, George says that he's a doddering old man. He walks with a walker. He's got lime green pants that he hasn't changed in a week, checkered golf pants, and he's got a muskrat that won't stay still on his head. He turns right, the muskrat turns left. He has to strap it on with a chin strap because it tries to run away. And he just went on and on and on. I'm like, oh, my God. I said, and I'm trying to explain to him subsequently. I said, no, you don't understand. This is a guy that has no sense of humor. He's gone through a procedure. It's been surgically extracted. He takes himself very seriously. I know. And that's the wrong way to be.
Surgically removed, really?
Yeah, there was an operation. You should see. It's located right under your spleen.
What, a blowtorch? What do you do?
That's where the funny bone. That's where the funny bone is located, and they took it out. Right. They gave him a funny bonectomy and gave it to somebody else that was in serious need.
It wasn't a bad piece, you know. What Howard did was one of those. I know Howard.
It was obvious.
Very nice to me.
It wasn't a bad piece, but it was obviously a piece. Men should not be wearing wigs.
Not in the age of acceptance of baldness, but I mean, look, all the bald guys are as popular and have all the babes.
Yeah.
So
exactly, and I said, how can you take yourself seriously when you leave the house looking like that? Don't you have mirrors? And that was it. He's hated. He's not going to respond to my email. He hates me too. He's very serious.
Very gay.
Howard Davis.
Did you ever patch it up with Howard? Or I think he secretly blamed you all those years. There's a lot of people did for any of the.
Right, it was always my fault. I got the blame. Neil got the check, and I got the blame. That was how it was. Yeah. No, he did blame me. If it weren't for that little George, we'd be best friends. We'd be golfing together.
There you go. He was delusional about that, I think.
I poisoned Neil against him. That's what I did.
He probably wasn't Neil's type of guy. He just probably wasn't. Neil always knew that if he really did get under your skin, that you were finished. I mean, those guys became dead meat.
What we got coming up?
What do we have coming up? I don't know.
And this is Jeff DeForrest.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Jeff, and see, here's the thing, because Jeff, like a lot of other people, could have, I don't know if you ever tried to explain to Howard, hey, look, Howard, it's like they'd have more comedy bits making fun of me than every other person combined, and I'm cool, and you don't see me losing any sleep over it. Did you ever have that conversation with him? To try?
No, I never really did. I mean, I don't know. There was no way to explain this stuff. You either just got it or you didn't. And, I don't really, for all of the, talk of being thin-skinned, who isn't thin-skinned to some extent, but
but you're
I never really took the radio stuff too seriously.
Well, everybody that's ever gone out on a stage, you're going to get hecklers. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. That's show business. That's how it goes. And I was always very taken by surprise by people who had been in the industry for years that still acted like, oh, that's unacceptable, that's outrageous. How could this person be making fun of me? Or they just don't, not in love with everything that I'm doing.
There's a way of being professional and gracious about it, and Depot always was. We did our share.
This was possibly the only place, though, where that kind of thing went on. It was very popular here. I mean, with all the talk shows.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go to any other market and you hear hosts talking about other hosts as much.
No.
As you do here, and that was all really generated by Neil going way back.
Yeah.
And it is kind of fun, let's face it.
It helped the ratings, I think. I don't know because I started out at IOD, and so I didn't really know much about talk radio until then, and it seemed like it made perfect sense that all of the hosts talk about each other, good, bad, or in between, because then that's a promo. And even if you're ripping the other host,
it helps your show, sure.
Somebody's got to tune into that other show to hear how you're going to fire back. And it went like that. Everybody, we all talked about each other's shows and were involved in each other's shows. It made perfect sense. I can't imagine doing it any other way. You're wasting an opportunity to do like an anthology where all the shows are talking about each other.
No, I agree with you. It definitely worked, and you'd have some kind of tirade going on one show. It even was applicable with the sports guys, right? Hank would have something negative to say about Joe Rose or the way we did an interview on the first team, and we couldn't wait to get back on the air the next day and fire back, and that's the way it was. And I think the audience really enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if that's part of the reason why the audience has slimmed down so much, but But it could be, you know, it might have something to do with it. People think they know you, though. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
Stuff that Neil would say about you especially, people assumed was fact.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he would say the most ridiculous things.
They still do, yeah.
He could say anything. No matter how ridiculous it was, he said it in a very matter-of-fact way, and people bought it. And that one of the lines always cracks me. People would call Neil and write him in a letter. And I love you, Neil, because you always tell it like it is. And that's the funniest statement of all, because he almost never told it like it was.
No, I mean, you know, he'd say, well, I heard DeForrest was impotent, and, you know, 20 years later, somebody walk up to you and go, hey, you still having that problem?
How are you? I paid money to become impotent. I don't know.
I'm getting old. I'm getting up there now, yeah. I'm just happy that I still have one.
Yeah.
That with all I've done, something hasn't happened that made it fall off.
So you're at WINZ, obviously. Where what is it?
Yeah, having a good time, man. Everything's working out.
A lot of our old friends over there. You're working with Miguel and Tommy's still over there?
Let's see. I mean, I see a lot of old faces. You know, and we got Manny Munoz, a big fan, and Jimmy Cephalo. They're doing mornings on IOD now.
Okay.
Amazing to think that IOD was what it was and is what it is now. Isn't that something? I mean, you talk about a transformation. I mean, from a left-wing, liberal, wide-open, hysterical station in terms of content to now cashing in big on right-wing conservatism. You would have never thought this 15, 20 years ago.
No, you can thank Peter Bolger for that. I should probably send him a card.
It's that the silent majority, all got their own radio shows.
I'm not
that was the problem.
I'm not inviting people on the show that Neil actually really, really hated and wanted to run over with his car. If you haven't gotten an email or a phone call from me, it's because of that. I'm not going to tarnish this memorial that we're doing over here by inviting people on that. The ghost of Neil would haunt me forever. There would be a poltergeist in the studio. I think all the equipment would fly out the window if I had a chummy conversation with Peter Bolger after we destroyed that station, that once great station.
Yeah, it's incredible. I guess it was a natural evolution, you know. I mean, who can explain it? And then the only other format on the air now is sports, right?
Right.
You got 32 sports stations.
Can you really get enough of sports talk? I mean, I don't know about you, but I personally have not heard enough Dolphin fans crying and apologizing for that last season.
Yeah, without the negativity, though, we'd be rendered silent.
I want more and more about that. So speaking of your TV career, I don't know if you've been listening in, but I've been trying to gather everyone together who was ever a part of Neil's professional life, and that takes us to Marvin Rahman, who I cannot find, and I hear rumors that he might not be around anymore, like on the planet. Have you heard anything?
You know what? I got, it's odd. I haven't talked to Marvin in a while. But somebody just sent me a message. I think it was the great Roger Magellan.
Yes.
Of Mike Ranieri fame. And he was asking me about if I had heard anything about Marvin, and honestly, I haven't heard a thing from him in probably 6 or 7 years. I know he wasn't doing real well. He'd had a bunch of things happen, personally and financially, but I hadn't heard from him. So, you're assuming everybody bounces back and is okay. I mean, it was a shocker when we found out Steve Nicol passed away. It was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he was a heavy smoker, but he wasn't a guy that you figured was going to check out, in an early age.
Yeah, I did. You ever party with Steve?
Well, maybe, yeah. Rumors were he liked to have an occasional cocktail, but...
Yeah. And then some.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of your bits, with me drunk, passed out on the golf course, which did happen once or twice. But
show business
what's
people.
wrong with a couple of margaritas before the first hole?
We party hardy. I just had Ferrall on earlier. At least I'm glad that...
Man, that guy's a drunken...
I'm glad that Ferrall is out of the closet so that I'm not the only one that admits, what kind of intensive carousing we radio people do. Although I hear the restaurant people might give us a run for our money. That's what the restaurant people tell me, that you radio people are amateurs.
We're nothing anymore. Everybody's so paranoid about their jobs that we were worried they were taking down the Christmas tree today and it had everybody's picture on it, and you're thinking, well, geez, how many of us are going to be on this thing next year when you're, when you take it out of the box again? But that's the way it's been going. So maybe the partying's leveled off a little bit.
Spinning the wheel of misfortune. Not for some of us, man. It's like if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have much to do. Defo, anything else you want to share before we go?
Yeah, what's great about what you're doing is, and a lot of people are paying attention to it, which is fantastic. If you're into this business, you got into it for a reason. Obviously, you loved it or you had some great interest in it. And when I first came here and I heard Neil, I thought this guy was the greatest talk show host I had ever heard. Maybe rivaled only later on by the great Phil Hendry, who had a completely different style. But
sure.
When Neil was on his game with his issues and politics, and I liked everything he had to say, he knew just how to treat every situation. And you thought, wow, this guy is as good as it gets. And, it was a good, strong influence on me in the beginning of my career here. And as I said, and when I first started at IOD, the guy was very helpful to me in terms of promoting me and seemed to genuinely like what I was doing. So, I'll always be grateful for that. And I was glad I got to experience what it was like to be with a guy who was beyond an icon. And, there are guys in different local markets that are huge. Neil was the biggest of them all, I think, in any local market over the period of time, the way he dominated radio here in South Florida.
Right on. Well, thanks for being with us, Jeff. It was always a pleasure working with you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good catching up with you.
You're a good sport. We busted your chops a lot. You were always cool.
There was plenty of material there. That's for sure.
I don't know what you said about me behind my back, but, you were always cool to me, to my face. So, we'll shake hands. We'll fist bump. We'll do something sporty. The next time we
we'll take a Nick game sometime.
Absolutely.
All right, Joe.
Bye, hot dogs. Jack,
thanks for having me on.
One of the greats, part of the history over here. And I think I'm going to try to get Rick on the horn when we come back. What do you think about that, Suds?
Yeah, that's fun.
I'll call, and then I'm not going to Facebook or tweet it unless I get a confirmation from Rick over there. 20 till 2 on All Nostalgia Radio. SoFloRadio.
Rick, whoa.
Just
one moment, please.
Oh. Okay,
what were you saying?
No, I said 20 till 2. I'm going to try to get Rick on the phone. Was that it, or were you talking about the out cue?
Out cue.
Oh, SoFloRadio.com.
Join the radio revolution. SoFloRadio.com.
Oh, boy. It's the 1 to 2 hour.
And this is Jeff DeForrest, happy to be back in the melodious concubine of manly jock worship. But mainly I'm honored to be sitting here alongside a legend in sport holia after an extended absence induced by big wampum from the last of the Mohegans. Well, Mo, is there anything you'd like to add to my monolithical dysentery?
Just one thing.
And what's that, my bald and aged friend?
Who are you?
That question, my veiny-nosed nabob, has been asked of me many times in public toilets at the track and in the back alleys of life.
What's that noise?
That, my colostomised chum, is the ankle bracelet I must carry for life as punishment for my sins against the Indian nation. Don't let it bother you if it beeps from time to time. Keeps me on my toes. But when I think negative thoughts, it sends deadly currents writing through my body.
What's the big idea? You've been away too long, pal. That attorney broad in Fort Myers says I can't get raped anymore.
Take it easy, bub. I'm only changing my bracelet battery.
Now, see here. You stink, and I don't like you.
Pipe down, Pops. You don't want to riot.
I'm going to use all the powers imbued in me to get you fired. Stop it, you frightened me. I'm just a frail old man, and now I'm scared.
Jimmy and Danny, Jimmy and Danny. Danny and Jimmy, Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Danny.
Danny and Jimmy.
Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Danny.
Danny and Jimmy. Jimmy and Danny.
Danny and Jimmy. We have a mobile from Miramar. Hello?
Oh, yeah, can you hear me okay? I got a question about Jimmy and Danny situation.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Jimmy. Danny and Jimmy. Danny and Jimmy. Jimmy and Danny. Jimmy and Danny. Jimmy and Danny. Danny and Jimmy. 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 Jimmy and Danny. Danny and Danny. Jimmy and Danny. Danny and Jimmy. Jimmy and Danny.
Jimmy and Jimmy and
David Woodley.
Jimmy and Danny. Jimmy and Jimmy. Jimmy and Danny. Jimmy and Danny. Jimmy and Danny. We'll be back with more about Jimmy and Danny after this word from Ballyowan's Apartments, where every apartment comes with its own Frigidaire.
Do you know who we are?
SoFloRadio.com.
When you're ready to actually lose weight safely and steadily while being monitored by a physician, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson is there for you. The family medicine practice was established by her father in 1956 and continues as a medical practice that now specializes in weight reduction. Dr. Kim Jacobson joined the practice 20 years ago as both a family medicine practitioner and weight loss specialist. The Weight Loss Clinic utilizes a combination of appetite suppression medication and vitamins to produce great results, usually 3 to 4 pounds per week for most patients. Now you can change your lifestyle while still enjoying your own food, just less of it. They offer a choice of 2, 3, or 4-week plans. So whether you just need to lose a few pounds or a lot, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson can help you. They're located at 5454 Northeast 4th Avenue in Miami, just 2 blocks west of 54th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. Call them at 305-751-0091. They'll be happy to answer any and all of your questions. That's 305-751-0091. Get started on a beautiful new body today with Dr. Kim Jacobson and the Weight Loss Clinic.
Hi, this is the much-loved and revered Boca Brian. My new disc is called Boca Twist Party. You'll get all the songs that were banned after 2005. You'll get... And you'll get... Oh, wait, you'll get...
It's my 14-inch long, super hard morning disc boner.
And you'll get this, too.
You know you make me wanna pull my pants down and...
Invest in your future now. These CDs will be worth a fortune after I'm dead and buried in the Oh Yeah, That Guy mausoleum.
A victim of a debilitating career disease known as Florida. Won't you help?
Boca Brian's latest release, Boca Twist Party, is available now on SoFloRadio.com.
SoFloRadio.com. Give us a call at 954-99-00036. Mobile users call 954-990-0036. And for those of you living in the past, call Butterfield 990-0036. Skype name SoFlo Radio.
This is the Neil Rogers Show. This is your brain. Any questions?
Don't you just hate people that use snappy openers for their show segments? Like that 1 to 2 hour.
She's a shining example, an embodiment of everything that's wrong with America. Those with nothing to do and a low IQ always tune in to laugh at her. She's disgusting to watch and her material blows. Why does someone like that have a TV show? She's grotesquely fat with cheese between her toes. Roseanne is a douchebag. I get so aggravated when Lucy is equated to that whiny and obnoxious slob. And she's a dirty fighter if the critics don't like her, or she's insecure about her job. Her ratings are high, but I don't know what for. She's just a puke-inducing and untalented bore, and I don't want to see her on the TV no more. Roseanne is a douchebag.
She's a douchebag, she's a big douchebag, but she's a douchebag. She's a smelly fat bag, she's a doo-doo bag, yeah, she's a douchebag.
The TV guide would have you think she's the rage. She's featured every week on almost every page. I'd rather see her go back to the pasture and graze. Roseanne is a douchebag.
That fucking bitch.
La 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 la. La 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 la. Codependent little hubby, how's your pathetic life? Now that you're riding on the coattails of your successful wife.
I just can't stand that before.
She's a douchebag, she's a big douchebag, yeah, she's a douchebag. She's a smelly fat bag, she's a doo-doo bag, yeah, she's a douchebag.
All the hype surrounding her is hard to believe. There's 400 pounds of oozing sleeves. She must have a hard time trying to breathe. Roseanne is a douchebag.
I'm Tom Hopkins for South Florida's News, Traffic, and Weather Station. News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. News Talk Radio 610 WIOD presents Rick and Suds. Now, here's Rick and Suds on News Talk Radio 610 WIOD.
Rick and Suds show gets on.
Let me set this up. Let me talk, because then I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. Because this is huge. First time that you guys have been on the air together in 10 years, and I want to set this up because I was a part-time roving board-op punk when I met Rick and Suds on the weekend. They were trying out, and technically all the part-timers are trying out. And I hated talk radio.
We were just filling in.
Right. And I hated talk radio. I thought, what am I doing here? This sucks. I wanted to be a music DJ. This sucks. I'm going to go back to repoing cars. This sucks. Every show that I worked on was just, I didn't understand it at all. And then you guys came in and you were fun and zany, and I became an instant fan. And even
he said zany.
Yeah. And even
which aren't you now? Part-time, roving, or punk?
What are you talking about?
I still do rove part-time, but I was a huge fan of the Rick and Suds show on WIOD. I didn't think you guys were funny at all on Waxy. Quite frankly, I heard those promos, and
Neil did.
Yeah. I didn't think you guys were funny at all, but on IOD, I thought you were hysterical.
You must have been listening with Rick Shaw.
You did crazy things. You did
funny
things that pissed off management, and I was delighted to be in the same building with the two of you all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in 100 years, Rick and Suds.
Go to hell.
Great show, Suds.
Where's the... Where's that fanfare? Where's the ta-da that we stole from Rick, as a matter of fact? I stole it. So is this it?
I want all that stuff.
No, it was this one. There it is. Yeah. Ta-da! That's when you won the wheel of something, the meat or something else.
Nobody ever won the wheel of meat. Don't ever accuse us of that. So that was one of the things that Rick Shaw just could not relate to, having a contest that nobody could win.
Hey, listen,
he hated that.
I'm trying to get Rick on Wednesday, so...
All right.
So be nice.
R-I-C-K-R-I-C-K.
Oh, no. Maybe he just didn't like that there was somebody else named Rick in the building. Maybe,
Are you really... Well, as a matter of fact, first of all, are you really going to get him on Wednesday?
Well, he's been in our studios before, and I'm going to just try to get him in on the phone.
September 4th show last year.
Yes. So...
Has he ever let you touch the hat?
He let me wear the hat. If you look at my Facebook...
No!
Yes! If you look at my Facebook pictures, there's a picture of me when he visited the studios in QAM, and I'm wearing Rick's hat.
And Rick's kind of going backwards now. He's wearing that hat backwards.
And by the way, it smells good. It smells like patchouli.
Does it?
Yeah.
You didn't smell it.
Oh, I did.
You couldn't help it.
Neil always said, Rick, that smelly cap, the first thing I did before I put it on is took a big whiff of it. I didn't. If it smelled like ass, I wasn't going to put it on my head.
Okay. So let me, just mentioning Rick Shaw, and you said about two Ricks, that was something else that occurred to me.
Yeah.
When we first came down from Hartford, I was Rick Shannon. I'd been Rick Shannon all the way up until 1985.
And I might add, I remember you two from Spokane, which it's actually called Spokane, but nobody down here pronounces it right.
In Sarasota once, Rick changed his name twice during one show.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And it was in successive songs.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in, Suds was I don't want to lose the thing about Rick Shaw, though, but I walked into my first radio station, which was WKXY, and Suds was on the air, and he was the world-famous Suds Coleman. He was the first guy I ever met in radio. And I stuck my hand out, and he stuck his hand out, and we shook, and he said, "You can call me World."
I thought his name was Dragon Beast.
Well, no, that was in Seattle. That was when he became newsman for a punk station.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Suds was the first guy I ever met in radio, and he's the last guy I ever said goodbye to.
How about that?
Anyway, so he told me I could call him World, and so right away I thought, well, that's cool. I'm like this special guy. And anyway, so I was Rick Shannon going into a song. I was so nervous because it was a top 40 radio station, my first gig, and they were paying me $95 a week, so I really had to perform. And so I went into a song as Rick Shannon, and I came out Rick Gordon, because that's my middle name.
Okay.
And I decided going into it, I didn't like the way Shannon sounded when I said it.
No.
So I came out and I said, I'm Rick Gordon, and I didn't like the way Rick Gordon sounded either. So I went back to Rick Shannon a little bit later in the show.
Well, I was originally at KXY, Dave Connor, because
that's right.
Yeah, they had all these drops made before.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but we have these drops made for Dave Connor, so that's who you are now.
People don't realize how cheap some radio stations are.
Yeah.
No, you're going to be this guy because we've already got stuff for him.
Yeah. We have these bumper stickers made for this guy that isn't here anymore, so this is you now.
Yeah.
If you want bumper stickers, you have to be this guy.
So anyway, we came down, and I was Rick Shannon, and Rick Shaw was afraid of diary confusion, which is, Arbitron diaries are how they rate radio stations, and you have to write down names. And he was afraid if I was Rick Shannon, they would get confused with Rick Shaw, and he might not get all of the ratings that he deserved. So he had me change my name, and I said, well, Rick, I've been Rick Shannon for 15 years. What am I supposed to be? And he said, whatever you want. I said, Rick Riley. He said, I said, what, like Rick O'Reilly? And they said, yeah, like that.
Like that.
And I said, okay, I'll work on it. And the next day, it was in the paper that he had hired Rick O'Reilly and Suds Coleman.
Oh, so he just put that out there.
He just put it in the paper.
I'm going to confront him.
And so I came down, and I didn't want to be O'Reilly, like Bill O'Reilly. So it took me a long time to drop the O. But I finally became Rick Riley. But that's all courtesy of Rick Shaw, and just, that's good, and then calls the newspaper and said, here's who we've hired.
Works for me. So how long were you at Waxy, you guys?
We were there for 3 years. We had a 3-year contract, and when it ran out, Rick couldn't deal with the fact that we were playing a contest, the Wheel of Meat, that nobody could win. People had to win. Well, they couldn't in our contest.
No. None of them.
It's like the lotto.
Yeah, right, and we designed it that way. We would go in, and we would go into, Publix and slap meat.
Oh, yeah, to see how it sounded.
Strange. To see how it sounded, yeah. And it got kind of embarrassing because...
I slapped meat at Publix, and they asked me to leave.
Yeah, well...
Got those cameras out.
I know.
You can't slap your meat on camera.
No.
Adam Kirshner's slapping his meat listening to this right now, so you might want to shout out to him.
Who?
Adam Kirshner.
Adam,
he has a radio erection right now.
Adam and I still keep in touch.
Oh, well, good. So you two do. I don't.
He lords it over me all the time that he still has a job and I don't.
Right. Yeah. Well, because he works for Clear Channel, he loves them. He sends them Valentines. He serenades Clear Channel outside their balcony with a rose in his teeth and playing the guitar. That's why he has a job there.
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah, he sends them poems.
It's on YouTube.
He writes poems to Clear Channel. Yeah.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So, anyway, wherever I was, that just diffused where I was.
No problem. This is exciting. Adam isn't the only one. I'm downright giddy because you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Well, I don't even know where Adam is. Where is he?
He's a Clear Channel. I'm not lying.
He's a Clear Channel.
Well, over here.
He's got a desk all of their web stuff.
Oh, yeah. Brother.
Check this out. Adam sends me something, and it's really cool, and he says, but don't send it to anybody or look at it until January 3rd.
Okay.
And I wrote him back, and I said, why? And he said, because I've got enough views already for this month. I've hit my quota. So he didn't want me giving him any page hits that wouldn't count for Clear Channel.
Did you say page hits?
I said page hits, yeah.
Oh, because I remember that time in Spokane at, what was it, some Western boot place. You were doing a remote for and you called them something shitty instead of
No, that was me.
Yes. Yeah.
No. I forgot we're on, radio where you don't have to worry anymore.
Right.
No, I was Rick Shannon, and I was at Universal City. And for the out cue, I was supposed to say, this is Rick Shannon at Universal City, and we're on a top 40 station with no delay, and I go, and this is Rick Shitty.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That was great.
Don't worry about it.
So
Go ahead.
So what are we doing here today?
We're nostalgia tripping, and you guys are together for the first time ever. And I know Rick was on the other day. I mean, I'm telling the audience something that they already know. And you were going all over.
Everybody listens all the time.
Everybody, they listen back. You should see our hits these days.
How many? Well,
thousands.
Do you?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup.
Well, I don't understand that world yet.
I know.
I told you, I'm a nitwit.
Neither do advertisers.
I think your mic's off, Monica, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
No, okay. But we've got thousands.
Yeah,
I think our most listened to show's got like 12,000 listens so far, as that keeps going up, as you know, because it's archived, so people can go back and listen. And of course, we disseminate everywhere. We're on iTunes and all of these other.
I downloaded it. I wanted to make it into a podcast too because I'm a nitwit.
Go for it. Well, we talked about that, but Rick, I mean, you guys have been everywhere. I think it's funny. It's one of those things where when you guys came to the studio, and I didn't realize it right away because the name change. It was talking to Suds later that I realized that I had heard you guys in Montana when you guys were on Spokane, because we had a lot of sayings in Montana like. What's the best station in town? Creme, Spokane, Washington. You know, we had to. Everything was Spokane. What's the funnest place in Libby? Spokane. That's what we would say. What's the funnest thing to do in Libby? Go to Spokane. And when, of course,
another thing you had there was hold it by its hind legs.
Yeah. Who are the only virgins in Libby? Ugly third graders. So
easy, George.
Yeah. So
they were really ugly.
Yeah. Boy, they couldn't get laid in a pickle pack. So no, that was Appalachia. Different story there. It was just a free for all in Montana. But
You were in Libby, Montana?
I wasn't. In the early days of cable TV, cable radio was included. You understand? And so that was like a brave new world. All of a sudden, we were able to listen to radio stations from Spokane, and that made everyone realize how our radio station sucked, the one that I actually worked on. And it wasn't my fault. I have no control.
We stole Creme's thunder. We were at KJRB.
Right. Now I remember that.
In the morning, we had a 12 share. We had a 12 plus. We had 22 share.
I mean, I was aware of that. I would, twist the cable dial, as it were. You hooked your cable up to your stereo, and you could just tune in Spokane station. So yes, I listened to you guys. I listened to everything that was going on there. Then
that's where Suds and I kind of teamed up in the sense that, Suds he was a night guy. He was just, kind of laid back.
He had his pipe. He's asleep right now.
Yeah. He had his pipe. And he would, just every once in a while come on and say this is world famous, and then, kick back and smoke his pipe again.
Right. And he still is. He's smoking a pipe right now.
I did the morning show. And so, are you still smoking a pipe, Suds?
As we speak.
Right now, yeah.
He's cracking
I got a whole bunch of them to send you that I found.
You can look at the webcam and see him smoking a pipe on SoFlo television.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
We brought audio, video live, and our video shows are also archived, so you can always watch it later if you miss it now.
Oh, are they? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. SoFlo television, yes.
Adam just sent me a message on Facebook. Come on, dude, you're killing me, he said.
Yeah.
Adam, you're already dead.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get together.
I think that message was to George about the rose in his teeth.
Oh, no, I don't.
It's violet.
Oh, I see. I didn't understand.
From Peanuts?
Yeah, okay.
It looked like a rose from a distance. I see.
Right.
I got it wrong.
Okay.
So back to Spokane. You guys got married and then started traveling the world together. I'm a little out of order. Go ahead. You take it.
Well, so anyway, he was doing nights and I was doing mornings, and I would get him. So, there's certain people in life that when you get together, you just laugh, especially if you have a lot of pot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Suds and I were that way. And so I would get him to stick around, because I didn't do the show when I was high. But I would get him to stick around and do some stuff in the morning show, and it was pretty funny. He's a funny guy. And I tried to get us to team up, but they wouldn't hire two people for one show, because two people could hold down 2 day parts. So if he wanted to do anything, he just had to stick around. Well, I got a job in Seattle. And over there, I talked him into letting Suds be my newsman. Well, Suds had never done news before, so at least that I knew. So I got to hire him because I was program director. I was doing the morning show, and I got to hire him as my news guy. So it was Rick and Suds in the morning. So that's when we teamed up, and that was in 1980. And I met him in 1973.
Okay.
You were music I'm writing all this down because I don't remember.
Rick was music director?
I know you know. I know you
were
know.
Music director at a radio station. We were talking about that at one time. You had that The Lights Went Out in Georgia record. That was a great story you told. I don't know if you remember that.
Rick doesn't, on account of the weed.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, no, I
remember. That was the biggest piece of crap you ever heard, and you were whistling it down the hallway.
Well, yeah, Suds was with me, and that's another thing. He was always into music, so he was also a music director when he was in Spokane. And he used to go out to lunch and dinner with all the guys who wore those little vials with small spoons around their necks. And he would also, all of a sudden, like every Christmas, have new TVs and complete sets of crystal. And he's laughing because he knows it's true. Those guys used to pay big bucks to get their songs on the air.
Yeah.
So anyway, and Suds was the music director. But what Boca Brian is talking about is my first music meeting over in Sarasota. They had me in, they would have all the jocks sit in and audition new songs, and they played the song, and I didn't like it, and I don't think anybody else liked it, and I walked out, and I was whistling it as I walked out, and Charlie Fernandez says, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "What are you whistling?" And I didn't even realize it, and I was whistling The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, so he immediately added it.
By Vicki Lawrence, I presume?
By Vicki Lawrence.
Oh, you almost talked it right up there, right?
You guys are pros.
Yeah, we used to do this for a living. Now we do it for fun.
and Jim Stafford, remember that? He was.
I love Jim Stafford, big fan. Swamp Witch and
Swamp Witch. He was huge.
Not Turtles and Snakes. Spiders
and Snakes. And what was the other one? The one about the weed, Wildwood Flower.
Oh, and then Suds discovered the OJs with Money.
Oh yeah, at WINZ.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I got a pretty good collection these days, Rick. Thanks to computers. What, Wildwood Flower?
This song is Wildwood Flower.
I hated this.
Did you?
Now, the Wildwood Flower is an old classic.
Oh, yeah, I still have this one that's a little bit more funky. I don't have Swamp Witch digitized before.
There we go.
Let's see if you can name this one. Name this tune.
Oh, boy.
You have a meat prize.
Jim.
Close.
Bill walked me to my door last night.
There you go. All right. That's it for Jim Stafford until I can find Swamp Witch.
See, when you're on the phone trying to listen to stuff, on my end, it sounds like a dropped call from T-Mobile.
Sorry about that. Well, it sounded really good in our headphones over here.
Good. Well, I had no clue.
Oh, yeah, the audience just loved it.
All I could hear was a lot of mumbling and music.
Oh, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, that's the show. We've developed a format of that.
And Suds, and then from... See, this is great because just from remembering all this old crap. When you're old, that's all you can do, you know?
Right. That's why I'm building some memories now for when I'm older.
Yeah. So Suds got a job over at WIND, which was across town from.
I got a job there because I was in. Remember the incident that prior.
You got fired, didn't you?
I got fired because I was in the production room.
You threw their tape recorder in the parking lot and stomped on it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Why? Why, Suds?
This is a piece of crap. I had worked all afternoon on some damn spot, and the machine ate it. I took it, unplugged it, took it out of the parking lot, and just slammed it into the pavement.
Oh, my God. I didn't know you had that in you. I never saw Suds, and maybe Rick did. I never saw Suds angry.
And I didn't either. I didn't even get to see him do that. That was a problem.
Probably nobody
did. Suds doesn't get angry like that.
No, I've never heard a negative word out of his mouth about anything or anyone.
And then they canned him. And so,
write that down.
Damn it.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's right. So anyway, they canned him, and he went over to WIND. Of course, he was making, I was making $95 a week. He was making $105 a week, and he went over to WIND, I think, for $115 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So he got a big raise.
Bud Paxson owned it.
Pardon me?
Bud Paxson owned it.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so he used to throw you $5 every time he'd get off on his jet.
Yeah.
You'd stand there and salute him, and he would throw you $5.
He traded out. Well, go ahead.
So then we would go over to WIND. I got fired from KXY because whatever reason, they told me I was the last one to come, so I was the first one to go after they'd fired Suds. But they had a reason, because he was throwing their production equipment down the parking lot and stomping them. I love that. That's great.
That's funny here.
My foot still hurts.
So you guys started working in Spokane and then just stayed together all the while, or what?
No. So anyway, he went over to WIND, and then he got me hired at WIND. Oh, that's right. And then when I got fired there, that's right, I got hired away at WIND. But when I got fired at WIND, it was because Paxson said I was the last to come, so I was the first to go. But they were very nice in helping me get a gig up in St. Pete at WFSO. But anyway, so Suds and WIND was a daytime station, so it signed off at sunset. So we used to go in at night and just crank everything up as loud as we could and turn on the echo from the tape decks and rock music and open the doors, and it was like just this blue light that was just glowing in the middle of a field with all of these echoes, and we would have a show called the Blue Ozone.
Yep.
And we would say, and now Bachman Turner Overdrive into the blue ozone.
Which Bachman?
And here's something we found out later on about that is the transmitter was off. The plates were off in the final tubes, and the filaments were still running. And apparently, you could still kind of hear the station for about a mile. so all of that stuff.
Yeah.
If you lived within about a mile radius, you could still.
Well, we had it up loud enough too, so if the doors were open, you could hear it.
Oh yeah. Hey,
that was when we were just in radio, and equipment was just cool, and you could just turn it up really loud and break it, and you never had to pay for it.
At WIND was the first place anybody ever actually took a shot at me. And I was doing the morning show, and every morning you had to go out by the towers, drive out by the towers, and take these meter readings. I did it maybe
a real shot.
Yeah, I do it about once or twice a week. And so I did it this one day, and I came back, and I parked the car, and I was just ready to open the door, and I hear crack, and up above my head, the wood is just flying.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And apparently it was some chick, well, you remember Paul... What?
You didn't see me, though, did you?
No, not that time. This was a different time.
Okay.
And it was some chick who, remember Paul Mazo? And she thought I was Paul. And she was shooting. So so here comes the Blue Ozone part with this, too. They eventually got her and put her in jail and all this miserable stuff. And I don't know what happened. She was out in a very relatively short amount of time. And she sent this big cake down to the station. And, we were pretty toasted. And nobody wanted to eat the cake because they figured it was going to be poison. And by the time the Blue Ozone was over, the cake was gone, too. So...
So many stories have that phrase in it. Well, we were pretty toasted.
They start out with that. We're radio people. We don't make any apologies. We wouldn't be in radio if we were like responsible suit wearing. And by the way, and that was the other thing. Come to find out, because I was a naive country boy from little towns, and I go to work for Cox, and I'm thinking that the people on the air are wild and zany. Well, the people that wear suits, they're doing all the same shit, and they can afford it better. Steve Nickel.
Yeah, that's right.
So there was nothing talk about the hypocrisy. They just
and it was better stuff.
I know. They just bathe in the sink and shave there in the sink and walk upstairs like nothing, like they weren't just sleeping in their car all night, sleeping one off. All the suits. That was one of the because especially when you're over there in the overnight, you see people rendezvousing in the parking lot in the middle of the night when you work the overnight shifts. Remember who?
Speaking of cars, and this is totally digressing, but there was Dan Johnson. Was there
I don't remember any.
Who was the guy, Suds, who wallpapered the inside of his car?
He died here, Dan...
he did?
Stewart.
Oh, Dan Stewart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan Stewart.
Yes, he's dead. Yes.
He did?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago.
Or more.
Maybe more, yeah. Last time I heard from Dan... Dan called me from Costa Rica. One day. Yeah, he moved to Costa Rica, and he was up on the roof of his house. He says, if I get up here on the roof of the house, he says, I can see the two oceans.
No.
Hey!
Awesome.
Then I hear, hey, Oh, Jesus. He said, somebody moved my ladder. I'll call you back. Well, that was the last I heard from him.
So he died of a broken neck.
He was going to move. They were actually going to move the house that he had bought there to some other location. He said, there's a reason they call it the rainforest.
He died owing me money.
Did he?
Wow.
Yeah. Bag of weed.
Wow.
Oh, no.
You got a shovel?
Oh, no, I don't think he's got anything worth stealing on him.
Okay.
Last I heard from Dan, said...
Here's the deal. Dan was a funny guy.
Yes.
And we would have him on the show, and we always had a good time, but for some reason, and I don't know why, he would say things that would anger management.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why either, but he was a funny guy. But I'll never forget when he got a Camaro, and, instead of, upholstering it, he wallpapered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just cracked me up. And he really did. He wallpapered the inside of his car. He was a strange guy.
Yes, he was.
So anyway, Suds and I separated. We went. You worked at FSO, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the program director was an alcoholic.
Yes.
And
wait.
Yeah, no, hard to believe radio.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the owner was buying him the booze.
No, okay.
Yeah. So he would get drunk, and I would do the morning show. And one morning, I put in a spot that he had recorded when he was drunk.
I recorded spots when I was drunk, didn't you?
No.
Oh,
check this out. I've only been drunk once. That was on my 21st birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
I was drunk several times on my 21st birthday.
Well, I found hanging onto the floor was just not.
Yeah, well, that didn't stop me.
Hey, you got a little woozy on the air there at IOD once, I remember. In fact, you got so woozy, in fact, I smoked a joint in there and you never even noticed.
Okay.
None of this is revolutionary. All these people out there in radio land, we just presumed you people are doing that all the time anyway.
Well, every day Suds wanted to invite Elvie Music in.
Oh,
you know who she was?
No. Oh, man.
She was legally allowed to smoke pot. She had glaucoma.
She was the one.
And we used to have her on as a guest when we were at Waxy. That's another thing that freaked Rick Shaw out.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, you couldn't ever smoke in the control room because it would screw up the equipment. Right. But when she lit up a joint, it was hot.
I am not a Nazi.
We had her and who was her friend who also legally smoked.
Oh my!
Dan.
Yeah.
He died here a few years back.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, he had real bad arthritis. That was why he was. He had a prescription.
Maybe that was it. Yeah. And
they were trying to get it legalized, and they were the spokespeople. And of course, we would have them on the show. And they would light up. And I'm telling you, the stuff they had was not very good.
Well, we had the FDA guy on. Remember?
That's right.
We had the guy from the FDA.
We had her smoking pot next to the Tom. What was his name?
Yeah, Tom something.
Tom Cash.
Yes. Tom
Cash. He was the head of the FDA in Florida. And, he was not happy with that show.
No. Why? Because it was not FDA approved?
Yeah. Well, because his job was to, bust everybody who had it, and here she had it, and she was sitting there smoking it right next to him.
I want to join the Food and Drug Administration. It would be a completely different scene if I ran that joint. So take us through, because we're doing the Neil tribute thing now that we have you both together at the same time. Take us through when you started out on IOD and what that was all about. Because you were just trying out. You guys are just filling in.
I want to do this every day, and so right now we're just up to St. Petersburg.
Okay. Don't skip anything.
Okay.
Don't leave anything out.
So anyway, we're at FSO, and I got fired because I confronted the program director, who was an alcoholic, for doing spots when he was drunk and having me playing in the morning. And I forget what it was. I had a whole stack of records, and I threw them at him.
Yeah.
And the gentleman, the owner, said, you can't really be throwing a whole pile of albums at the program director and expect to keep your job.
I know, you people, man. I never threw anything. I never bashed equipment. You people are dangerous.
No, I haven't either. That was the only time.
All right.
But anyway, so they ended up letting me go, and I went up to Pennsylvania, and then West Virginia, and I was at Morgantown, West Virginia, which is the University of West Virginia, 35,000 student body, and I'm like 24 years old, and I was having a blast. That was a great place. And then I got hired away to Spokane. I'd worked myself up to $165 a week. And somebody from San Francisco came and heard me and offered me a job in Spokane. I said, I love it here. I really don't want to leave. He said, well, what would it take to get you to leave? And I said, it'd have to be at least $300 a week. Well, that was like almost doubling my salary.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, what else do you want? And so I said, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they flew me out there and had a nice dinner and came back, and 2 weeks later I was gone. And when I was in Spokane, I called Suds, and this was after I was there for a while, and I said, Suds, outside of Florida, they're playing real radio. I mean, this is fun. This is really competitive. One of the things that is indigenous to Florida is not only is the geography separated from the rest of the country, but the radio was too.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got up, in the other 47, it was very competitive and a lot of fun. And he didn't really want to come up there. He'd had his fill of colds before, and he'd worked in Montana. But I got him up there, and they hired him, and that was in 78.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just bought a new Firebird.
Ooh. Right, and he drove up there.
Yeah.
And I think he brought like a brick with him.
I had a Publix Publix grocery bag that was 3/4 full of pot, right on the console, all the way.
Yeah. So he came up, and that's how he started working at KJRB, and we were back together. So I left there in 75. And he came, so we were apart 2 years, and then he came up, and then I went over to Seattle, and he stayed at KJRB, and he was doing overnights, didn't really want anything more. Everybody left him alone at night because nobody was there, and I kept bugging him to come over there. Seattle's a great place. This is a major market. Come on over, and finally was able to entice him over to be my news guy, and he came over, and then was also Sato Newsman from Hell.
Yeah, on KJAT.
Weren't you?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
KJAT. Yeah,
on KJAT.
Well, the reason that happened is I got a mail. I got some mail, and it was addressed to Sato.
Right. Instead of Suds. That's right. And so then he doing news for me. Then we teamed up, and then we got hired. We got fired from KZR. Check this out. This is radio people. They're just idiots. We lose our program director, and so I'm interim program director, and they hated the guy that we lost, and I'm interim program director, and so all of a sudden the radio station starts coming alive because I'm pretty easy to get along with. I tell people when they're doing a good job. I try to bring people together, and we were having a fun time. So they come to me and they said, "We'd like to offer you the job of program director." I said, "Okay. Honestly, doing a morning show and program director is like two different jobs. I'll take it, but if you can get a program director and allow me to just keep doing the morning show, that's what I'd really like to do." And they said, "Okay, well, we'd still like to offer you a raise and the position of assistant program director while we look." So I said, "Okay." So they hire a program director, and the first thing he does is come in and fire me.
Oh, Strider.
Strider, yeah. Phil, that's right, Phil Strider. He comes in and fires me, and of course he fires Suds too. So now they want to promote me, and then they end up hiring a guy to fire me.
That's great.
So we get a job across town at a place called K-Hit, working for AJ. You remember him?
Yeah, AJ Roberts.
AJ Roberts.
Yeah.
So we work for AJ.
And Rick always said the J stood for whole.
Yeah. I said he was Mexican, and the J stood for whole. So anyway, so we're working there, and things are going along good, and I want to move closer to Coleman, a place called Federal Way, which they were developing, and nice new houses, and wasn't that far from Seattle. And so I go to him and I said, "Look, I'm looking to buy a house, and I want to make sure everything is, because I wasn't under contract. I want to make sure everything is cool." He says, "Oh yeah." And so I go to put a deposit on a house. Unfortunately, I didn't that day, but I was going to. I made arrangements to the next day, and I come back, and the next day he says, well, they sold the station and you're fired.
Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we were out of a job, and then, and I always, Suds and I would get the tapes together, but I always, was the workhorse. I sent out the tapes, made the contacts, and did all of that. And we were out of work for about 3 months, and then we got a lot of people who were interested. They said the tapes that we sent out sounded like comedy albums. And so we got a call from a guy in Connecticut at Hartford at WCCC where Howard Stern was, and he had just left. And the program director's name was David Grossman. And this is where the radio really start to get bizarre and very cool. So Dave hires us, and he says, and I forget what, I think I was making like $40,000 a year, so 42 in Seattle. He says, I'll pay you $30 a year. And Suds, he says, I said, well, what about Suds? He says, 25. And so I tell Suds, we don't have anything else. Let's go and see what happens. And he agrees. So we go there, and then he decides he was going to pay our moving expenses and our hotel expenses. We pay our way to get across and hand in the bill. He says, well, we decide we're going to use that on promotion for you. And I think then he also, he was going to pay us a lot more than he did. Yeah, whatever it was. When we got there, he cut our salaries down to 30 and 25 because we wouldn't have gone there for that.
No.
He offered us more, and then when we got there, he cut us down to 30 and 25. And didn't pay our hotel and didn't pay our moving expenses. And we had a 2.3, they had a 2.3 share when we got there. And 3 months later, when the book comes out, we got there after the book starts, and the book comes out, and it's a 2.4 share. And they call us in, and they say, you're fired. We were there 3 months to the day. And he says, we're going to go in a different direction. This guy's name is David Grossman. And so, we just got here. I mean, you can't expect us to change the station, in 3 months. And so he says, well, we're just going to go in a different direction. You guys are out of here.
Yeah, we're going to go north.
So, yeah. So we get a call first of all, we leave. And I get a call later from Milt, the general manager, and I forget his last name.
Good.
And he says, I don't appreciate you rallying my sales department against me. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but we walked out, and that's the last we've talked of anybody. Whoever is rallying against you is because of you and not us. And apparently they all walked out because we were the first morning show in a long time that they could even sell, and they were very happy with us. And then we get a call from the Hartford Courant, which is the paper, and they say, we understand you guys, we heard you were fired, but the radio station says you're on vacation. And we said, no, we've been fired. They told us we were fired. They were going to have
That's how they do it in radio. You can't go on vacation in radio. People think you're fired. People call you up. If you take a vacation, your friends call you. Yeah. Are you okay? Did you get fired?
Yeah, well, they said that we were on a plan. When they called them, they said, no, they'll be back. We're on a planned vacation.
Yeah.
And they called us and said, no, we've been fired. So the radio station calls us back in, and apparently David Grossman actually had somebody come down and threaten to beat him up.
Yeah.
Had him against the wall and was going to pound him. And he was taking messages from people, and if they were in their demographic, he would call them back. If they weren't, he would set them aside. And everybody, our radio show was doing really well. And it was just a shock to us that we were being fired. But you have to understand that the guy who owned the radio station was so cheap that you couldn't dial long distance. If you dialed a 1 on the phone shut off. So you could only dial local numbers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you could only dial local numbers. And so they bring us back and they said, okay, we'll give you your jobs back, like they were doing us a favor. Okay, so we start next Monday. Well, what about the week we were out? Well, what about it? Well, we'd like to be paid for it. No, you're not going to be paid for it. So we got docked the week we were fired. We came back, and we knew the reason we got rehired was because of the audience. The audience was just awesome, and they threatened to beat the program director up. They called. The sales staff had walked out. So now we're back, and we knew we had them. And so the first thing I said when we came back, I said, okay, look, you've got to change the phone system. We can't do a radio show with not being able to call across the street because the phone shuts off. Okay. And the guy's name was Cy Dresner from Oakland. He says, okay, but don't abuse it. Okay. I said, okay, we won't. So the first thing we do when I get back is I call Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I left it off the hook for 4 hours during the entire show. So we called a gas station in Pakistan so we could get the ambience of the city. And we heard the owner out in the hallway just freaking out. But nobody would come in and say anything to us. And so that kind of established everything right there. So we figured we can do now whatever we want. And the next book came out, and it went from a 2.4 to a 9 share. And we started getting calls from around the country, and we had in our target audience, which was 25 to 54, we had like 60% of the people in Hartford listening, and it was just turned into a really fun show. We had a listener appreciation party, and thanks for getting our jobs back at the Agora Ballroom, which everybody had played. The Allman Brothers had played, and we sold out the Agora, which is actually free. We didn't sell tickets, but we closed the doors of the Agora faster than anybody had ever done that.
Yeah.
So
had been there the night before, and we did better.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, that was the night that the crowd got Suds to propose to Pam.
Oh, that's right. On stage.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I thought they should go on a honeymoon, so I arranged a trip to Jamaica for them that us and all the listeners got to go with them.
Yeah.
Well, not all the listeners, but we picked 20 listeners, and I arranged a trip so everybody got to go. Well, the way I picked Jamaica is a guy calls on the air, and he's in Jamaica, and he says, I got to tell you guys something. So, okay, go ahead. No, he says, I'm on. He says, I got to move to another phone. I can't do it here. So, and this is all on the air. So he calls us back, and he says, I went to a place called Jenny's, and they're serving marijuana brownies. So it was, I forget what it turned out, but it was the Jenny's Bakery tour, and and we were taking everybody down there to check this out. So we went on Sud's honeymoon with him, and I arranged a trip to Jamaica, and 20 people went, and the first thing they did was everybody boarded a bus, and we went to Jenny's. And when we came back, we all met in one hotel room, and everybody emptied their pockets, and there was a pile of pot taller than the people. And that was our listeners, and we did a remote, and I'll never forget, Suds got so wasted that he laid down in the sand, and I had to pop the phone up next to him. Up next to his mouth because he couldn't sit up. And so he was lying in the sand with the phone lying next to him, back on the air in Hartford, telling everybody what a great time he was having.
Somebody talked me into going to get I know it was a cab driver. He talked me into going to get a haircut. And I said, well, all right, let's go. And I hopped in the car. He took me to his house. And his wife has on the stove cooking mushrooms.
Okay.
Special mushrooms that are just hanging out of the pot, and she poured me a glass of this stuff. Oh God!
That's right.
Yeah,
it was something tea, happy tea or something.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
The tea was happy.
And then he. This is a great trip. He and Pam got so sunburned. Do you remember that?
Well, Pam did.
Oh, okay, Pam got so sunburned, all we could hear inside the room was her saying, "Don't touch me." On their honeymoon. And there was a toga party. Of course, there's a toga party every night in Jamaica. And there was a toga party, and she couldn't even put on a toga. It was so loose. She was so sunburned.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And they were like 3 hours late because Suds didn't know how to put on a toga. And so it just put it over your head to get out there.
We had to make it out of a sheet.
Yeah, and he didn't know how to do that, so it was like 3 hours late to the party, and every once in a while during that, you'd hear out of a room, "Don't touch me!"
You know, and that's still going on.
It's funny because it's
she
true.
uses that fake sunburn stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I got the sun.
She gets tan in a can just so she can say, "Don't touch me."
Yeah, burn in a can.
Hey, you know. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, and we also took a ride with the cab driver, and they take you right to their house or somebody's house. I remember coming back, we went to Rick's Cafe. That's right.
Yes.
We went to Rick's Cafe, and Suds has a joint. And he says, mind if I smoke this here? And the guy says, well, I'm a cop. Okay, well, I'll go over here.
Is that a no?
Yeah.
I just moved over the other side.
Does that mean you want some? I don't know. Tell me.
Oh, man.
Well, you know, it's still illegal there, but they just looked the other way. But it was like, please don't just stand next to me.
Could you turn around? I can think of, we'll have a comeback contest. Could you turn around, officer, then?
I need to ask you one more thing about Strider. That I don't remember exactly how this came to be. You remember the unknown program director? You remember that?
No.
They had fired, I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, I do.
I don't remember how that worked out, but this guy who originally fired us, and then somehow we got back, they fired him, and then they were going to get a new program director. So we're in a hotel room, and they say, okay, Rick and I are there, and
that's right.
He says, we're going to introduce you to the new program director we have, and this guy comes in, and he's got a bag over his head, and he takes the bag off, and it's the same damn guy.
Yeah, they fired him for being a jerk and not knowing how to run a radio station, and then they come back and unveil him as the unknown program director.
Oh! Funny.
Yeah. Radio. You can't beat it.
Yeah, and you can't make this kind of stuff up either. Oh. For real.
You know, you guys are on the road so much. I can just picture you and Suds in a Corvette with a bag of weed on the dashboard.
Yeah. It's like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but it lasted more than a weekend.
I remember going from Spokane to Seattle with Rick, and Rick had a Porsche he was going to try to sell, and so we went over to Seattle, and Saturday morning rolls around, and we're sharing a room there, and Rick wakes me up, and he goes, 7:30, cartoons are on here. Hands me a joint. I'm just...
Oh, fun times. I guess it wasn't about the money you were making, but the fun you were having.
Oh, yeah. It was obviously not the money.
I got about 10 more minutes, and then I have to plug Joe Castello with some bullets. No, he's going to call up. He's in a contest. I'm going to save the last portion of the show for him. But I want you to tell the story about how you guys wound up at IOD. I mean, we all know that we were at Waxy. You came from Hartford to Waxy, right? Is that the first Florida radio station?
Right.
Right.
And then what happened?
Well, you're missing all the fun stuff.
Oh, well,
Neil's Memorial is on Friday, right?
Right. Yes. Well, take us through fun stuff. You don't have to rush. You got like 10 minutes or so. I'm enjoying it. Don't think I'm not. I'm just you know how I am.
It's so great to talk to Suds and to remember all of this stuff because it was just
it's not. I'll have nightmares tonight. So
right. You people on the Rick and Suds show, you were always doing current, fun, lighthearted things. You never did really reminisce about all these things. You never told the Rick and Suds story on the Rick and Suds show that I can recall.
You know, I told Suds you ought to come up here, and I've got a couple of microphones, and we ought to just, lay it down, just remember, what went on, because it would make a great book. I mean, there was when we left up in Hartford, there was a deal about the wheel of meat, and the owner stole Suds' pork chops.
Yeah, out of the Coke machine. I put them in the Coke machine to keep them cold. We're going to do the wheel of meat, and then I was going to go home and eat them.
Right?
You don't waste meat.
Not pork chops. No. Maybe some tripe.
So we did that too. So anyway, we had one of those pop machines where you slid the bottleneck out, the grating.
Yes.
And then brought it up. Yeah, it was like it had to go through a little maze.
Right on.
Okay, well, there's only about 2 inches, and when you close the top of the lid, there's only 2 inches between the top of the bottles and the lid of the Coke machine. So, but it was enough, to slip in a couple of pork chops and keep them cold. And so Suds, on occasion, would put the meat in there to keep it fresh. Mm-hmm. And we would hear from Cy, who would say, "Oh no, don't do that, Ruin the gaskets." And so he didn't want Suds to do that. And so Suds kept doing it. And it would just make Cy just livid. And so one day we're doing the Wheel of Meat, and nobody gets the meat, of course. So, Suds' turn to go home and fry it up that night. And he puts it in there, and he comes out, and the meat is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes. Gone.
Oh, yeah. And there's another time that Suds, he didn't let it drop. And I don't really know what went on behind the scenes, but he was really angry about that, and I think he went in and talked to the general manager.
Well, I'll tell you what eventually happened, and this happened fairly close to the time we left there to come down to South Florida here.
Right.
And they had a Christmas party, and we went to the Christmas party, and for a gift I gave Cy a can of applesauce to go with the pork chops, I think.
Right, that's right. And what we did was everybody drew names.
Yeah.
And so Suds and I found out, Cy was the owner and Milt was the general manager. Suds and I found out who had their names, and we swapped their names. So Suds had Cy and I had Milt. And he gave him some applesauce, and I gave Milt some shake and bake.
Yeah, that's right.
And they opened it because everybody had to open up their gifts, and everybody knew about the pork chops incident, and everybody was just rolling, trying not to roll, So we'd been flown down to. That's when we had huge numbers up there, and we got flown down to Waxy, and they put us up, and they told this story the other day. Suds and I walked out of our places in Hartford, and we were in snow up to our knees. And came down there, and they put us up in the breakers in Fort Lauderdale. And I think we were on the 14th floor. And I came over to Suds' room, and we were on the balcony. And I was in my underwear, and he was in his underwear. And we were kicking back with our feet hanging over the balcony, reading the paper. And I looked over, and I said, "How much are we going to have to pay them to take this gig?" And so we ended up going to. And the very first thing, that's another deal. The paper I was reading, I grabbed a paper after meeting Rick Shaw, and he says, "Okay, we'll meet you tomorrow." They picked us up at the airport. "We'll meet you tomorrow." I grabbed the paper, and I open it up. Greg Budell sues Waxy for $250,000 as the headline.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And here we were going to go work for them, and their former guy is suing them for $250,000. That was a little shaky.
Yeah, and it was also that weekend I first heard Neil. And I called you and I said, "Hey, you got to come down here and listen to this guy."
That's right.
And Linda Thornton, the late Linda Thornton was on, and they were talking about us.
She's late too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she died too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, my geez, what are you guys doing down there?
Everything.
Not dying. Not all of us.
So Linda was on there with Neil rather, talking about us coming down here, and Linda says, "Well, these guys are never going to last." Well, she was right. You were right, Linda.
Yeah.
It took how many years before you did it?
It took 18 years, but we were gone.
Yeah.
Flash, like that, nothing.
So we get hired, and we come back, and we know in Hartford at WCCC, they're not going to ever let us give notice. And we had the greatest audience in the world, and we wanted to be able to say goodbye. So we had already accepted the job at that Christmas party. Yeah. So we knew, we could just, we could do anything we wanted, but then we even really had the attitude that we're out of here. So we arranged for the shake and bake and the applesauce, and then came back, and I forget I think it was right after New Year's, we quit on the air. And the program director gets up, and his name was Harv Allen, and Harv at the time, he's lost a lot of weight, but Harv at the time weighed about 400 pounds. And
he's right up there with you, man.
I heard the other day you say that I got a part-time job at Santa and I had to lose 20 pounds for it.
I said 40.
Oh, 40. So?
Well, I know you like the job, so, no big deal.
I think I look pretty good now. So anyway, so Harv comes in, it was like 9:30. Well, we were on until 10 o'clock. We'd been quitting since 6 a.m. So Harv comes in, and he flies through the door and comes around down the hallway and comes in back of us in the studio, and he's going so hard, the door just explodes open, and he flies across the room and hits the record rack and bounces off and says, "You guys are fired." I said, "Harv, we've been on the air for the last 3.5 hours quitting. You can't fire us." And so,
I'll show you.
So I get up, and Bill Schultz was the guy who followed us middays, And he says, Schulte, get on the air. And he looks at Harv and he says, I'm not on till 10, Harv. And he says, get on the air. And so Schultz gets on, and meanwhile, during all of this, it was an album station, and from between 9 and 10, we played a couple of songs, and the song had run out, and it was going.
Yeah, that's right.
And all this argument was going on, and it's still going. And Schultz saying, "But I'm not on till 10, Harv." So he sits down and he takes the next record out so slowly and just and wipes it off and puts it on and cues it up. And meanwhile, it's just keeps going. And he cracks the mic and he says, "Well, I guess you know what happened."
Yeah.
And then says, "This is WCCC," and plays another song. and that's how we left.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got all of our sound effects there.
Oh, yeah, we stole them over the years, as you know.
Yeah.
You know what?
We took the DCS with us. We just ripped it out of the wall and I carried it under my arm.
Did you really?
No.
Rick.
Oh. I want all
dubbed, painstakingly dubbed.
Oh, it's the wheel.
The wheel of me.
Yes. Crank it.
Oh, look at that.
Those babies can still spin.
Yeah. And they're all frightened.
Yeah. I dubbed all that stuff off on DAT with the help of some people, and then I surrendered all the DATs to Boca Brian so that he could, dub them back over into our system.
But you didn't dub this one.
Hugging and a jock.
I got it again.
Yep. Yeah. We got them all, Rick.
Wow.
Listen back to the previous shows, Rick. You'll hear, a lot of Suds, and we bring a lot of that stuff back out, like the beer is good for you and all that stuff when we do the Spick and Suds show, which is just a shadow, a poor imitation of the Rick and Suds show. But it's the best I can do, being who I am over here. It's like I don't have your voice.
Is that a specific day, or is that just whenever Suds decides?
Whenever Suds shows up, we have our own logo and everything. The Spick and Suds show logo. Yeah.
So you're out of time?
No, not yet. But you got about 5 more minutes or so. Round it out. And by the way, I've already gotten requests. Oh, you should guys have them on here. It's like as soon as we get some money, I'll offer you some. And don't forget, when you do sign out, you got to do it the traditional way. Already had people insisting that you do it. So
okay.
I'm going to keep that off.
For Neil, we need to come back and do another show because we were there for 10 years.
Right on.
And there's a lot of stuff to discuss. And while I spoke about it, just on my behalf the other day and how instrumental Neil was in helping us there, there's a lot of fun stuff that I'm sure Suds and I could kill another hour with easily.
No question.
So would you like to do that sometime this week?
Well, we have one more show on Wednesday. Suds is the busiest unemployed man in the world. As
I know.
He shows up like every couple weeks. So
hard to pin him down.
Yeah.
Well, Suds, do you want to come back?
Come back to what?
We're doing only one more live show on Wednesday, and then maybe next week or whenever, according to Sud's schedule. Because Friday we have the memorial service. We're going to be running just like old Neil show highlight thing that Boca Brian is putting together painstakingly.
And what is the deal with that? I was very surprised to see there is one that it's open to the public.
Well, he was cremated in a non-service, and Norm Kent decided because there was a lot of demand, as you know. A lot of people wanted there. I mean, Neil didn't want a funeral, but too bad you're dead, so we're going to have one anyway. We want one. Funerals are for the living, and Norm decided that he was going to create a forum for the people to get together who wanted to say some things and all get together. So that's what we're doing Friday down here. And Boca's putting an audio-visual presentation, some videos and some stills with some audio, and I'll be saying something.
Sounds like that was a surprise to him, just that.
Yeah, and if Neil were alive, he would not allow it. He's not. We had to wait for him to be dead.
And we're going to go into the break with a very short clip, a 2-minute clip of the snooze cruise you two guys narrated. When Neil was in the car in front of WNWS.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got to come out of that break. Keep it short because I promised
It'll
Joe
be short,
Castello some promotional
2.5.
some promotional time. But I would very much like to MC another Rick and Suds reunion. Next week.
Well, I'm here. I'm in my office
I
studio.
understand. You're all married and
MC Jorge.
Yeah, yo.
Hey, Pam is DJing down on the beach now. Empty G-spot. You might go.
I can't wait. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see that show. Rick, it's always a pleasure. Genuine. I mean, I'm not just saying it. You're in radio. I was in radio a lot of years before, and since the Rick and Suds show, we're on the same station, and it was a pleasure working and listening to you guys on the way home. You guys were evil geniuses. You did Property Damage. Genuine fan of the product. And
did you remind Suds that you were the guy who was on our side when we put the dead cat next
I
to
did.
his birthday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm still laughing about that. Yeah. And by the way, Phil, I had him on. He thought it was funny too in retrospect. So
I think he did.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know. I think he.
I know. We'll have a reunion one of these days. Get Phil and Andy in the same room and have them confess that it was pretty funny after all.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. Well, so you call me whenever you want to do it, and
we will.
Suds, it's been great talking to you.
Well, thanks,
Suds
man.
and I converse like once a year and all of that, but it's different like this and reminiscing, and it's been really good to hear your voice.
Brian, take the cue from them.
Oh,
that's your cue for the cue.
Again, that's my
no, not that.
The building is looking
what? I said take the cue from them. They're going to do their out cue. I insist.
Oh, okay. All right. You ready, Suds?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having us along. Adios.
We're a ghost.
That's your cue. God.
Give me a second, will you?
Oh, I thought you were loading other things up.
We'll do it again.
This is live radio. We plan all these things out.
It.
Oh, man, this is all worked out. We planned for like a week to do this.
I got 30 windows open over here.
I know. Not like having
from the
lead
top,
time.
fellas.
All right.
Well, jump.
Do it again.
Oh, okay. Thanks for having us along. Adios.
We're a ghost.
Hey, baby, I drank a lot of booze. I got flattered and scrambled my brain. I'm out of control, baby. It's my success I abuse. The party every night and get laid. And I like to drive my Viper when I'm plastered with scrambled brains. I flipped it again. I want to die, everybody!
Well, we have the tapes
Never
rolling.
again, that's my slogan. Anyway, we're looking at the building. It's looking kind of gray and dank and down in it. They're standing now. The front door is open. They're looking out. There's the staff at W Snooze. We're waving to them. They're now waving back. They're giving us very dirty looks. Of course, go right here. We'll make a U-turn. When that light changes, we'll have clear sailing. And then we'll be able to go right smack in front and eyeball them eye to eye. They absolutely have no humor whatsoever. It looks like one of the gentlemen was holding the farting post in the doorway. It was kind of embarrassing. I don't know if they're doing that as kind of an
trepidation contest of their own
trying to get some publicity from Channel 7. You can be sure Sally would have that on a flash.
Channel 7 was filming,
Yeah, and they had the audio cranked up pretty good, so that should be a real barn burner tonight. But we're just getting ready to make the U-turn. If these people would clear out of our stinking way here. Is that Mr. Kane? Look at that. It's a rented car. Must be Steve. It says
Is it a hearse?
baseball cards. That's good. Hell of a deal, Steve. Okay, we're making our U-turn right now, right by Bunning the Florist. We just hit that little Corsica, but that's okay. It's not much anyway. And now we're headed back up the other way. We passed it, but this makes it more exciting. Now, what's all this other traffic going to do? They're going to have to make U-turns. We're looking at the front door. I'm going to roll down my window and take a chance. We're looking at the door. They're standing at the doorway, standing with their hands deep in their pockets, and one gentleman looks like he's feeling the change. Is that Mr. Collins? Dave Caprita is sitting alongside me here. Oh, boy, you need the job, huh, Dave? Hey, there they are. There they go. Look at this. There's the Debbie. As a matter of fact, Debbie is on top of the LMS Fresh Seafood Market. She's mounted the building and inhaling fresh fish. I can't believe it. People are throwing snapper up there. I've never seen anything like it in my life. We're passing the West Side Plaza. We've got all kinds of people over here on the side of the road. You've never seen a celebration like this in your life. There's a couple of more old people straddle in the middle of the road. We just kind of ran them over. Never moved a muscle. Unbelievable.
We're waiting for the new format.
Meet our turn. Awesome. Excellent. 8 till 3, SoFloRadio.com. Jorge Rodriguez, Boca, Brian, Suds. Monica's over there getting the radio history lesson. Aren't you glad you didn't get into radio after all? I know. Back when it was fun. What? Let me turn your microphone on. There you go.
I'm totally honored.
It's not too late to be a manicurist.
Yeah, we're going to...
Have you seen my nails? Yes, it is.
Redefine things.
Take extra notes about we got fired there, we got fired here, we got fired.
Oh, yeah. I was the one up until last year that had never heard the word fired.
That's
never been fired in my life. Not from any job. Not from, whatever. I only had...
And I was down here the day you got fired, and I remember telling you, welcome to radio.
Yeah. It took me 27 years.
Cherry.
Joe Castello, ladies and gentlemen, are you on with us?
I am.
That's amazing how we can do... When it's Skype to Skype, you can just do these smooth-ass segues. There's no ringing. There's no clicking. There's no nothing. It's crystal clear.
What's up, guys? What's up, Suds? Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Back at you.
Thank you very much.
I already voted, and I'm posting it on my Facebook right now, the thing that you're going to explain to the audience right now in your own words.
I keep putting myself in these terrible situations because what you guys just did with Rick and Suds and the reminiscing, great stuff, great radio, and then here I am to shill. Now the shilling begins. Now, by the way, Suds, what year Firebird did you have?
It was a 78.
Oh, see, to me, that is the perfect year.
Yeah.
We have a 78 Trans Am in our family right now.
Do you?
Yes, we do.
Well, I hope it was in better shape than this one was. This was it wasn't a fire. I mean, it wasn't a Trans Am. It was, I don't know what it was. And had the T-top, and it was loaded.
At the time, that was a hot car, though.
Yeah, but it fell apart in about a year.
No way.
Yeah.
Hey, ours was very, very well. When it came to quality control, I don't know what the difference is. We still have it. It still is pretty good. Then again, it's a race car, so who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, talk about your thing. I voted. Yeah. It's close.
First of all, it's huge. My thing is so huge.
Yeah.
You can vote. Well, everybody knows that if you listen at 9 o'clock on SoFloRadio, you hear my racing show, which I also do. Well, we were nominated for Internet Radio Show of the Year by a very well-respected online news website that covers racing.
Wow.
This is the second year we've been nominated. Last year we were barely on, so we got dusted off really easily. But this year we are in a really close statistical battle with some show out there on the West Coast. Bottom line, I want to win. And so what do? I go to Georgie, and Georgie is going to help facilitate our victory.
Right.
The voting is tomorrow.
Let's rally for our very own Joe.
It would be very helpful. I would like it. And, of course, you know how it is, George. If you're number one in the most bizarre of demographic...
You're 0.6 apart right now. 0.06 of a percentage point since my vote.
Are we winning or are we losing?
No, you're losing.
Exactly.
You better give the website really quick.
Well, you can access it several ways. WFOradio.com. That's my website. You can click right through. It explains where to click. Or if you feel really fancy, you can go to competitionplus.com. Plus, it's on my Facebook page, and it might be on George's Facebook page.
It's my top status thingy right now.
And you can only vote once per IP address, but I got to say, some creative people have gone to different IP addresses
to
vote.
Use your phone. Use your phone also.
Oh, never thought of that.
Yeah.
I can make you a winner right now.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's great. I had no idea you guys were winning big awards.
They're popular.
Wow, great.
You know, who knows if we are or we're not, but we've got to win this to say that we are.
Yeah.
Right.
that what it's all about? Just saying we're going to win something so we can say that we won it.
WFO Radio? Is that what it was?
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Now that you're on Facebook, Suds Coleman, you can just go to my
that's
profile.
right.
I got to find you,
Monica.
You're welcome.
He's kind of on this side.
We did it while we were talking to Rick, yeah.
Oh.
Suds was kind of tuning out, so we just did a lot of computer stuff while he was talking to Rick.
Just like normal.
And that's really it, guys. I'm shilling for votes here. Campaign headquarters is in high gear. I've got people all across the country copying Facebook statuses and voting, and we're trying to beat a much bigger show, and so your help is appreciated.
Well, you got my vote.
Well, thank you.
Well, you will have when I get home.
And I'm going to see you guys both on Friday, I would imagine?
Yes, you will. You can help. You can help.
I'll be there as well.
Monica thinks I'm going to be mobbed by, the crank callers, and they're going to try to wipe boogers on me, which might be true. So you get to be part of the wall around me.
You can join the entourage, Joe.
Yeah,
that is fine. If you shill up some votes for me here.
Joe and I have touraged on many occasions. We've been part of each other's
I heard that.
Yes.
I heard that about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you're going to run into those kind of peeps.
No. Well, you never know.
Some.
You never know. You never know. They're out there. That's all they do. They're out there.
Gee, I wonder if Gilbert will be there.
Oh, let's hope. Because I've been thinking about the Mitsubishi logo. I really want to impress him with my Mitsubishi hood grill logo there. I want to impress his chest with it up against the wall.
Chrysler Pentastar.
Well, Joe, good luck, man.
Thank you, Suds. I appreciate it. You and Rick sounded great. It sounded so good hearing you on SoFloRadio.com. I don't know. There might be something out there.
Very good. I voted twice. I just voted for you on my phone and on my PC. So
you need to find dead people to vote.
Oh, I got some relatives that they vote in every election. They've been voting for the past 100 years. I'll get them to vote, too.
Guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. WFORadio.com or vote however you want on George's Facebook page. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Good luck to you. We'll have it on. One more Wednesday thing. I don't know exactly who's going to be here. Henry Barrow, Roger Maglin going to try to get Rich Sean. Listeners, as many people. That'll be the last tribute show, official tribute show. And then Friday we're going to be playing like a tape that Brian has assembled lovingly. And we'll be at the memorial service on Friday. Don't forget that. And then next week, a little bit back to normal, some more music, some lighthearted stuff. I got like a week's worth of notes of things that I haven't talked about. That Dr. Oz, that Captain Owen right there that we see on the TV. What's wrong with these people in the Navy? No sense of humor. I'm George Rodriguez. Up there in Boca is Boca Brian. Monica sits over there in all her blackness. And then, of course, the world-famous Suds Coleman. But you can call him World.
It's the South Florida Radio Network.